Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
White hot desires melting cold podcast steel.
Is that for Kate Sheet?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Give me another second.
Oh, you got them all?
Hold on. Hold on.
Oh,
Pause.
the Crazy Mama one's long.
In 1957, Cheryl drove Mom Chevy on a heavy date, got knocked up, knocked over a bank, smashed 4 police cars, and kidnapped her stepfather. It was a crazy podcast.
Pretty good.
Okay,
tagline.
hold on.
The next one's pretty good,
Hold on.
too.
Hold on, please.
People really cared
Please
about taglines.
hold on.
An Avenger on wheels. He chases them across the state and wipes them off the podcast. Hold on. What they do to his woman is the most shocking podcast of all.
Really? I don't even know. I mean, a lot of shocking stuff happens in that movie.
I don't know if he chases them across the state.
Yeah, I don't know how
I feel
accurate.
like he just goes over to their house.
Okay. Well, anyway, I am finished now, so you can make whatever points you want to make.
People used to really put a lot of effort into taglines.
They were
and I
good.
really appreciate that.
And they were like a little,
I mean, it
like
could be longer.
a paragraph.
It could be like a little story.
Well, here's the thing I like looking at old movie posters.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, Cage Sheet poster is phenomenal. That's
Phenomenal.
a phenomenal.
oh, phenomenal.
That's a phenomenal poster.
No, but the thing I like about old movie posters is
Crazy Mama looks like some shit like a weirdo drew. Like, there was just like, give it to the weirdo. And he was like, Crazy Mama.
Looks like a pamphlet that someone hands out in Times Square.
Right, that it's
I love it.
It's like a chick tract or something. Fighting mad, it's okay.
The thing I like about old posters, and especially I feel like sort of like schlocky, Corman-y exploitation movies like this, is that marketing was not as saturated. So a movie had to be able to sell itself exclusively on its poster if that was what need be.
This Fighting Mad poster is really good.
Right.
Because there's the other one where he's like got the bow.
Yeah,
And that one has the thing where it's like, hey, he's got a bow.
right.
This one, no bow, but still pretty cool.
Do you know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, I do.
Like, you
Of
need to
course,
be able to
you
walk up
gotta-
to the theater and be like, what's playing this Friday? And the poster has 12 sentences
It
on
has
it.
a bunch of elements.
Right.
Right.
It's got, like, really kinetic, like, illustration.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to like schlocky paperback novels.
Yes.
I would buy
Where
this
it's like-
this poster and hang it on my wall.
It's a great poster.
You know what I mean? Because it's sort of a conversation piece, too.
Yeah.
You can be like, oh, yeah, Peter Fonda's in that. You know, that was a Jonathan Demme movie.
You know, I feel like you get a couple times a year a movie, especially if the movie's supposed to be like a throwback or an homage to like a bygone genre film.
Right,
They'll be like, oh, look, it's an internet exclusive.
VHS cover. Yeah,
Right, but they'll just like put it on like a fucking website. It'll be like a Film Thread exclusive or whatever. And it disappears. And I'm like, how much attention would one of these movies get if they were just like, this is our fucking poster? We hired like a painter.
the best part.
Right.
There were like 12 painters.
Right.
You hired one of them.
Right. But like, look at like, you know, the most popular movie of 2019, Stuber, did one of these posters that's like.
Stuber is just so crucial to this podcast, I feel like.
And also, I feel like crucial to the state of cinema.
But that's why we're invested in Stuber.
100%.
Even though Stuber came and went,
Yes.
didn't make a ton of money.
Like an Uber ride. Just a quick blip.
Just a quick blip.
Just a quick blip. But Stuber's important. Because I feel like Fox, Alan Horn comes out and he's like, look, what can we say? Fox had a terrible year. We have to fire 8 billion employees because Dark Phoenix bombed.
Right.
But and obviously an excuse, right? They were always gonna fucking cut Fox off at the ankles. They were always gonna strip it for parts, right? But I feel like you could put as much blame on Stuber as Dark Phoenix. And Stuber is a far better movie, and it lost less money.
Yeah, I don't think, right. It didn't lose too much money because it can't cost that much, right?
Right, but I do think that movie had an aggressive marketing campaign.
Sure.
And it had a prime position in a summer where no comedies were working.
Yeah.
And it so fully failed to register in any way.
I think I had a few. If we really want to, can we start our miniseries off on a good note by analyzing a couple of the problems in the
Fuck,
Stuber
I
marketing
forgot
campaign?
we're starting a mini-series.
Yeah.
I forgot. Like the dew on a leaf as the sun gently rises and tickles the plains. The promise of a new tomorrow. It's morning in America, Blankies.
Can you add a rooster crowing right there when he says that?
It's morning in America, and if you look out there, off in the horizon, squint, Ben. Squint, can you see it just faintly?
Just slightly.
Coming up the road.
Yeah, here it comes.
What is it? Oh my God, it's a new miniseries! It's a new miniseries, David! Oh no, it's burning up!
I think people are like, oh! Get out of the sun!
The miniseries is too hot!
It's photosensitive!
I can't handle the miniseries! Of course, this is a podcast called Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm so excited for the new fans. David, new fans joining the Demme heads.
Podcast about filmographies. Directors who have massive success early on in their careers who give a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce. Baby! And this is a miniseries on the films of Jonathan Demme, and I just realized we have not had even one conversation about the name of this miniseries.
No, I don't think so.
We just barreled into it.
Yeah.
Look at how fucking arrogant we've become.
Pretty sure I know what the name is.
What do you think it is?
Married to the Pod.
I strongly disagree. I could not disagree.
No, please go ahead. What's the name?
I don't know. I'm saying we didn't have one conversation.
You just strongly disagree with Married to the Pod?
Yeah.
Cast?
Yeah, I do. I feel like it should be a Silence of the Lambs thing, but now I'm trying to figure out how to make it work. We've not talked about this once. Not even
You're really
idly.
upset with
I'm not upset. I'm just astonished.
our lack of planning.
Do you remember the amount of hand-wringing we used to do over every detail?
The Podchurian
We've become
candidate?
complacent. We need to shake it up. Well, don't you think
It's really a slice.
it's a miniseries, right? A remake. You know, miniseries shouldn't be titled after a remake.
I mean, Frankenheimer, not Schlesinger. Jesus Christ! I always get my,
okay.
Eisingers.
Yeah.
I
It's fine, and you're canceled. Okay.
It finally happened.
Silence of the Lambs.
Canceled.
Silence of the Lambs. You've been walking a tightrope for so long, and David is high-fiving
Wow,
back.
Ben is not interested in my antics today.
No, I like antics.
All right, thank you.
I was getting distracted because I was thinking about how I would sound design the canceled moment.
Oh, sure.
See, this is what I'm
he's
talking
working,
about.
He's
And I was
working all
thinking
the time.
about it would be a stamp, and it would be like, canceled.
Yeah, that's
We
good.
got to kick our butts into gear.
Okay.
We got to get creative.
You know what? You're right. It's a new miniseries. This is always an opportunity to start fresh.
And the freshest start we've ever had.
And I'm going to
So
say...
you don't want to talk about Stuber?
I do want to talk about Stuber. We'll get back to Stuber in a second. Of course we have to talk about Stuber.
Table Stuber for now.
To be clear, this is posting November 10th.
So Stuber will be available on digital.
Steelbook's coming.
All platforms. I haven't seen a Steelbook pre-order go up.
But we're going to be better this mini-series. We're going to be stronger. We're gonna be
Stronger?
faster.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
I
don't think we'll be faster.
I'm going to vape less.
Well, I thought you quit.
Well, I have a different kind of vape now.
Oh, boy.
I don't think getting a different kind of vape is quitting.
It's like, a special vape.
Yeah, get wacky tobacco. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Ben's holding up.
It's Snoop Dogg's brand.
And what is the name of Snoop Dogg's brand? Give
G
him a free plug. Why not?
G something.
Great. I'm sure he's thrilled.
Okay, here are a couple big news items.
That's probably how Snoop Dogg pitched it. I don't know. It's called like G something.
Here are a couple big news items. One, Ben, you will be elated to hear that I finally watched The Beach Bum.
Oh.
It's now streaming on Hulu.
I forgot you hadn't seen it.
Because
It came and went.
It opened so wide, it bombed so quickly, and like the week it was playing wide was the week I was in LA trying in vain to save my TV show.
Right.
My TV show, of course, being fuck. I was gonna make some joke. No, I couldn't think of like a show that got canceled, which I could pretend I was a fan of.
Oh, sure.
That was the joke.
You
format.
did that joke at George Lucas.
I do that joke all the
yeah,
time.
if I can't remember what show you
No, I
subbed in.
can't remember what fucking.
It was
show.
whatever was actually like in
I
the
know.
news that week.
Sneaky
I can't
Pete,
remember.
whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
Sneaky
know.
Pete, he's so sneaky.
It was funny when I did it. You should have been.
What if
there.
Sneaky Pete was sneakier than ever?
I know.
Goliath?
Oh, here's another check-in. Remember when I predicted that both Sneaky Pete and Bosch would be canceled by the time that episode came out? And I was correct about Sneaky Pete, but incorrect about Bosch? It turned out Bosch got renewed for 2 seasons at the same time. So it doesn't count. So I wasn't wrong. I was ill-informed.
Fine.
Okay, now back on to serious matters.
such as the title of this miniseries or
No,
Stuber's
not
box
yet.
office performance?
Table
Okay,
it.
Right.
Stuber is in the hopper. I have 2 other things to talk about first. This very streamlined episode. People complain that we're not talking about the movies enough. I'm going to correct that, but let me talk about 4 things that have nothing to do with this filmography first. 1. Finally watched The Beach Bum. It's on Hulu. Yeah. A lovely film. No one told me that Harmony Korine wrote a script in which Snoop Dogg is a character, hired Snoop Dogg to play Snoop Dogg, and then somewhere along the process, Snoop Dogg was like, I feel a little constrained by this literally being me. Can we change the name of the character? So the character's name is different, but he is otherwise exactly the same as celebrity Snoop Dogg.
Right.
Down to the point where when Drop It Like It's Hot is playing, he goes, this song was a big hit for me.
And yet also he's intricately involved in the life of a Miami poet. Like,
But I love that he was like, you know what'd be funny if this guy was friends with Snoop Dogg.
Right.
And he reaches out to Snoop Dogg and he's like, it's kind of a weird, it's like a being John Malkovich thing. It's like a fictionalized version of you, but you fit into this narrative. Are you down to do it? And he's like, yes. And then as they're in the rehearsal process, he's like, you know what? I feel like I want to make some choices with this character. I need to change the name to Lingerie.
Right.
But otherwise, nothing else has changed.
Simple question.
Yeah.
Did he want to change the name because he was worried he was a little too close to the character, or just because it would be funny if he was called Lingerie?
From my understanding, because I tried to go deep on this, I was like demanding answers. From my understanding, he was like, I think we have more room to play if it's not literally me.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I think pot celebrities like Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's cool.
Oh, boy, this is what this miniseries is going to be, huh?
All right.
No.
What did you think of the beat?
Come on, Willie Nelson, Snoop Dogg. How do you rise to that level?
I like smoking weed.
Where you're like making money
Woody
off of
Harrelson.
your brand
token
as just being a
constantly.
I smoke a
toker.
lot of weed.
I'm
Be
Willie
famous
Nelson.
already. It feels like you got to kind of
Yeah.
be famous for a good few years and then just talk about it so much that people are like, we get it. That's your thing.
Yeah.
All right. And then after a while, you're like, I quit. And they're like, all right. No, you're not interesting anymore.
Seth Rogen, I gotta say, has done a pretty good job of...
I can't do it.
He's done a good job.
Right.
I'm going too Cookie Monster. I think he's done a good job of maintaining a level of weed culture focus that is sustainable. Because he's never had to do the scale back thing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of these guys go a little too hard at some point, and then it's like, then they have to go like, I'm not just all about weed.
Right.
Okay. A very important matter of business.
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, I love the Snoop Dogg lingerie beach bum thing. I think it's one of the most audacious choices I've ever seen in a movie, and it's great because it's the opposite of Diane Ward in Chappie in terms of successfulness.
I agree.
Which is like, oh, they keep the names the same, make the characters different, but the actors are playing T-shirts with the name of their band on them.
Did you like the movie?
Beach Bum, yes, I think it's fantastic. Point
Pretty
number
great,
2.
right?
Point number 2. I have a huge announcement for everyone, and Ben doesn't even know this. I've officially gotten David into Steelbooks.
Oh, sure. Right. I don't know if Ben's that pumped about that.
I don't even know what that means.
Okay, for the listener at home, Ben's eyes have rolled back into his head. The listeners are freaking out, and the point is, I started texting David images of Steelbooks and then selling him on... Steelbooks are like, I always fucking talk about them. And
No,
they're
I'm
like
excited.
discs that come in like a metal case, and they usually have more minimalist artwork, and they're like limited edition, and they're usually exclusive to Best Buy. And I set David off, and he ordered like 3 of them.
Yeah.
I just feel good about this.
That's cool.
And this is a new miniseries, and it's a fresh start, and it's a really clean entry point for new listeners. Okay, point number 3, Stuber.
It's so Stuber. I'm just going to say, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're saying. You know what I mean?
With the Stuber poster?
Oh, you wanted to say, talk about the poster specifically.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
What were you going to say about Stuber?
I just think like a lot of these titles that underperformed this year and prompted a sort of like, oh no, is like the studio movie dead? Is the comedy dead? Is the, it's like Stuber got bad reviews.
Yeah.
It had a terrible name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but it did.
Yeah.
And although I think there's a lot of public goodwill for Dave Bautista and Kumail, maybe they're not quite at this sort of level where people are just automatically going to see a movie because they're in it.
Sure.
So it just had a lot working against it. And, that was that, right? Like, it's just sort of like, it's hard to break through. Like, it opened against Crawl, and a lot of people were like, Crawl, what's it about? There's a crocodile.
Yeah.
It eats people. I'm there.
But Crawl even underperformed.
Crawl did fine.
Crawl did not. Crawl should have done much better.
What? Crawl did
What did
great.
Crawl end up at? 45?
38.
Oh, David, that's not good. Horror is one of the only
Tripled its budget.
viable.
Yeah, but it was
Genres.
Paramount. It was Paramount.
That's what I'm. Oh, so that means it did well?
Oh, I'm
Okay,
saying
for
they
new
don't know what
listeners,
they're
they
doing.
do this all the time.
Yeah.
Paramount torpedoed that movie.
Well,
They fucked it up.
They torpedo everything.
They fucked it up.
Please hire us, Paramount.
Look at Curse of La Llorona, a movie that quietly
Curse
made
of La Llorona.
$65 million domestic.
Yeah, but that was in the Conjuring universe.
I know.
That's some branding right there.
I'm just saying, Crawl had some of the best reviews of the year.
Crawl got some good reviews, but that was
It's a good movie.
They didn't screen it in time, so it got kind of late good reviews. But yeah,
They fucked it up. Can I say a big thing about Crawl?
sure.
Saw it in theaters, like all American moviegoers should have.
Right.
And it was the first film I've seen in a long time. And obviously, I have more love for the medium than most. But it was the first film I've seen theatrically in a long time where I was like, man, I hate that they fucked up 3D and killed it. Because Crawl is a movie designed to be
You
in
like
3D.
the medium more than most, I would say. But
But,
yeah,
but even still, I cannot remember the last time in 5 years I saw a movie and I was like, "Oh, fuck, this should have been in 3D. Crawl is like, it should have been in 3D. It's all like spaces with a water level that's
very
high.
immersive.
It's all about depth. Right. It's in like small contained quarters.
See, I'm too claustrophobic to see that movie because everyone was like, Ben, you have to see it. It's such a wet movie. And I was
very wet,
interested,
very wet.
but I can't do claustrophobic stuff.
Yeah, most of it's in a basement.
Yeah, it sounds like
I'm
a
pumped,
nightmare.
But I'll see it on
Steelbook?
TV.
Oh man, the Crawl Steelbook.
Maybe it'll be like in the shape of a crocodile biting.
Ooh, maybe there'll be a bite
Or is it an
mark
alligator? I
in
don't
the
know.
Steelbook.
Got a text message?
Wow.
What do you got there?
That's not important. What's important is that the Venom Steelbook, and once again, very streamlined episode, very focused, new miniseries, great entry point for new listeners. The Venom Steelbook is
It's
like,
his face. I see.
and
it
it's
here.
like the title is forming in the sides of his mouth.
Well, Venom's a pretty malleable face.
I know, but I just think that's like a clever design. And this gets back to the thing, watch me come full circle.
I love Venom.
I find the Steelbook artwork is so often more compelling than the actual artwork for the main release of the film because they feel like, oh, we can get more creative with it. And then for the main release, it's usually some photoshopped, like jumbled nonsense, right? And I feel the same way about posters where you look at these three Corman movies and they all have striking posters.
They do. They do.
And I feel like something like Stuber, they'll do like a retro throwback like Stuber poster.
Do you mean like this one?
I think that's the one. Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's kind of half-assed.
This one's no good.
It's like a poor emulation of what they're trying to do. And
The Stuber poster that wasn't bad was the one that prominently featured the dog.
I know.
Because then at least I'm like, oh, there's a dog in this thing?
Well, and I also
And then
like...
it turns out the dog's barely involved.
Okay. This is a miniseries on the films of Jonathan Demme, obviously.
Kind of agreeing. Yeah.
And I'm going to just write out The Silence of the Lambs and see if I can visualize how to make this work. And we're going to talk about all three of these movies a bunch because this is the first time we've covered three movies in one episode, which of course means we're stalling for time and trying to figure out ways to pad out the episode.
Yeah, which we really need to do. This is the beginning of our Jonathan Demme miniseries. And for the beginning of our Jonathan Demme miniseries, we're talking about the three movies he made with the Corman family.
Mm-hmm.
Caged Heat, Crazy Mama, and Fightin' Mad.
In that order, three successive years.
1975, 1976.
Bam, bam, bam. And someone on the Reddit pointed out, Caged Heat is now officially the oldest movie we've covered on the podcast.
That is true.
We got to go further back.
We haven't done anything. Yeah, no.
We got to go back, but we so far have not covered a film earlier than 1974. I think this beats The Loveless as previously the oldest.
There you go. Fair enough.
But here's a big asterisk as to why. We usually cover current filmmakers, working filmmakers whose careers we can still track. This is the first time we are covering a late filmmaker on the podcast, which is sad. I'm happy that we're making time to discuss all of his films because it's quite a career.
I mean, he's a relatively current filmmaker in that,
So-
like, he made a movie that came out 5 or 6 years ago, whenever Ricky and the Flash came out.
But it's the first time we're talking about
first
someone
time
where
we're
there's
talking
a
about a
full
deceased
like end ellipses
director.
on the miniseries. There's no sort of forward thinking like what could happen.
Griffin and the podcast?
This is our second director
March Madness.
that won our March Madness bracket.
True.
Right.
He defeated George Miller.
in the final round. And it
In
was
the-
quite a Cinderella run, kind of
Was.
like the
You know,
Nancy Myers one.
but as stealth.
That's the thing, because
'Cause
Nancy Myers was dominating every
She got some big
matchup.
scalps early.
Right.
But he was like, that March Madness was kind of boring. Like all the winners were kind of big shots.
We were upset because we were like, it's going to be a really boring Final Four where
And
it's
he
just
was
the top
kinda-
4 seed.
He was kind of sneaking along. I mean, let me try and
And I feel like he was like edging out narrow victories.
here was his run. He beat Cronenberg by 4 points. Kind of a surprise.
Well, I was surprised.
He beat Verbinski by a lot.
I was
58 to 42.
very surprised.
But
now,
you swung the vote
I
by
swung the
tweeting
vote.
that you didn't want to talk about Johnny Depp for a while.
I swung the vote, and I didn't think it would have that effect, and I will live with that guilt forever.
Yeah, who cares? And then in the quarterfinals, he beat PTA by a hair, by 2 points.
And that was kind of an interesting matchup.
That was like, mentor
Mhm.
and, disciple. PTA being the disciple, of course.
right.
And then in the semifinals, he beat Raimi by 2 points. So another tie. I mean, he squeaked all the way.
Yeah,
And then he beat
right.
Miller by 4 points. So it was always squeakers.
Yeah.
Squeak.
But even now, looking back, I can't believe it happened. What a run. I'm looking at his films. I mean, right now, I feel like, is it just the silence of the podcast?
Yeah, fine. That's good. Great.
Okay.
Let's do it. The silence of the podcast. The truth about podcasting?
Stop potting casts.
The truth about podcasting?
Stop potting casts.
No, I don't like that.
Stop making.
I don't like podding as a word.
Stop making podcasts.
That's not a verb. We're not podding right now. We're
As
podcasting.
the thing that America cries out to us all the time. Stop
podcasting.
making podcasts. Conan already did it.
The truth about podcasting.
Uh-huh.
I just kind of like that as a grabby title.
It's kind of interesting.
The truth about podcasting.
But here's
Here's the truth about podcasting. I love it.
I mean, a great twist. But what I like about Silence of the Podcast is it's a little bit funny. It's a little winsome because it's like Silence of the Podcast is an audio medium.
I mean, that's fair.
It's really funny, David.
Why
what?
don't we put up a survey?
Okay. Here are the options. Stop making podcasts.
All right, wait a second. Let me.
The truth about podcasts. I think all of these have to be podcast is in it as one word. We're not splitting up podcast.
I don't like splitting them up unless it's really smooth.
And when it's smooth, oh baby, does it feel good? Something Wild doesn't work. Married
Did you
to
like
the
that?
podcast.
Did I like when you were humping the air? Yes.
Yeah, everyone loved it, David. What's he doing?
More physical. Okay, that's a
Yeah.
new thing.
Yeah.
For this new miniseries, more physical bits.
More physical bits. Well, if you want to get David physical, hold up a picture of Colin Farrell.
What am I doing?
Ben's dabbing.
You said that with great distress.
Yeah. Okay, here are the 4 options. Ready? And don't worry, we will very shortly
Also-
start talking about the first of 3 movies.
Also effective moving forward. This is, I have to weigh in as the commissioner.
the commish. Right, one of your nicknames, of
commish,
course. You're the commish.
Officially,
tiebreaker,
no more
birthday
eating
banner.
on blank check.
Hey, look, it's controversial, but I am one who has been vouching for this for a little while.
To stop eating?
Yeah.
I'll say this. We're only ever eating if we're fucking hungry and like timing has gotten away from us, right? We don't do it deliberately.
But no more. If I see just anything edible in your hands, I will smack it out.
What the fuck is the Twitter password?
Well, I'm not. What, you want me to say it on mic? For listeners just tuning in, we spent 6 minutes trying to remember the password to our own Twitter
All
account.
right, yeah. Here are the polls. Okay.
We had to cut all of that out.
Yeah.
Truly, several minutes. Okay, here we go. Back in full energy.
All right, here we go. Come on.
4 options. 1, stop making podcasts. Ben is vomiting in the corner. 2,
No, I'm not.
the silence of the casts. No pod. Drop the pod. It's cleaner. This is a new miniseries. Everything's out the window.
All right.
Number 3, the truth about podcast, singular. Your boy's wild for this one. Truth about podcast.
All right, okay, fine, yeah.
Number 4, married to the pod. Yeah. I want all 4 of them to be different. A singular, a plural, one pod, one cast. This is radical. This is what happens when there's a new miniseries.
It's tweeted.
Okay, huge.
I didn't mean to say that like I sounded like a crazy person.
And we're having a great time, and we're all in a great
I think
mood.
it's going pretty good.
I think it's going great. So Jonathan Demme was born February 22nd, 1944 in Baldwin, New York.
In Baldwin, New York?
Baldwin, New York.
All right.
He was raised in Rockville Center, New York.
He's Long Island.
And Miami.
He's
and
Long
Miami
Island.
because he graduated from Southwest Miami High School.
Okay. Went to the
Before
University
going-
of Florida.
Right, so it's like first half, he's in like sort of like Westchester, Long Island, New York life. Second half, he goes tropical, baby. Like the beach bum.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea what happened? Did he go to film school? I realized we didn't.
University of Florida has a famous film school.
Right.
I bought a Demme book.
Hasn't
Hasn't
read it?
arrived yet.
Wow.
Arrived yet.
We really we went quickly into this miniseries without realizing we had done any of the prerequisites.
Yeah, whatever.
You're looking at me like I do that.
We don't
I'm
fucking-
looking at you with a sense of like, please forgive me.
Here we go. Here we
Okay.
go.
Here we go.
All right. Cut some of that out.
Cut
too.
everything
Enough
out.
dissing of the podcast.
Here's the
on
start of the
podcast.
episode.
Here we go.
Here we go.
He was a film critic at the U of Florida college paper.
The old Bogdanovich pathway.
I can reveal this now. Can I reveal a spoiler about it too?
What?
Because this is coming out way. Bogdanovich plays a director in it. He plays like the director of a movie that like It One, essentially. Like James McAvoy like wrote It One, right? He's like a grown-up screenwriter now, and he like wrote a movie about his childhood. And like Bogdanovich plays the director.
Mhm.
It's pretty great.
I thought you were saying, can I share a spoiler about it, TOO? Which is a problem that I think is going to keep happening when this movie
Well, I believe
comes
It
out.
Chapter 2 is the
No, but you know what I'm saying. I was like, a spoiler about what?
Okay, sure. Anyway, that's the spoiler.
And you were like, this also. That's what I thought you were saying.
All right. Well,
Which I bring up because the other day I was texting with our friend Alex Ross Perry, and we similarly had a giant miscommunication over the fact that I texted to ask him if he had seen Scary Stories to tell in the dark, and then to curious what you thought about it. But the first text didn't go through, and he was like, I liked it okay.
Oh, sure. Saw the first one.
I'm excited for the second one. And I was like, have they announced a sequel? And we kept talking about it.
Jesus. All right. Came to the attention of producer Joseph Levine
Okay. As a critic.
Who was so impressed by Demme's positive review of the movie Zulu, a British classic,
Yeah.
that now is probably just the most fucking impossibly racist movie ever made. Like, I haven't thought about
No.
Zulu in a while. It was Michael Caine's launch. Have you ever seen Zulu?
No, I've heard Michael Caine talk about filming Zulu.
Like, where it was rough at, like, what, like, talk negatively?
You know, when his masterclass thing.
Yeah.
He talked about it a lot, all the lessons he learned from being bad on Zulu. Anyway, whatever. I've never seen it. My grandparents used to have it on VHS.
Yeah.
And when they died, I threw it out.
Wow, brutal.
I took home a box of Betamax tapes and threw out Zulu on
Betamax,
VHS.
Oh, sure. Oh, you took. Oh, well. So Levine hires him as a publicity writer.
Okay.
Okay, so now he's in the biz tangentially.
But so he was not studying
No, I don't think so.
directing.
But he liked movies because he's writing about them.
Blanket.
He probably would have said that.
Yeah.
Then he meets Roger Corman
Okay.
because he's doing publicity on a Corman movie, Von Richthofen and Brown. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so Corman's like, I like you, kid. You know, I got Bogdanovich, I got Coppola,
Yeah.
I got fucking Scorsese. Like, you know, he's coming a little later, but like, right? Like,
Right.
come join my stable of nerds who will
Right.
make movies for me.
Right. And years later, he's going to have James Cameron making models.
Exactly.
Bill
exactly.
Paxton working as a gripper.
Bill Paxton's first appearance is
is
is Fighting Mad, right? Or is it Crazy?
Crazy
It's in
Mama.
Crazy Mama.
No,
right?
this is like a mythical figure.
Sure.
Kinda,
Roger
right?
Corman.
He's
Yeah.
still alive.
He's still alive.
Yeah, right.
He's still alive. He's a mythical figure. He, several years ago, got the honorary Oscar. And it was kind of a big deal because his movies are not considered particularly good.
But like the fruits of his tree, you know?
That was the argument, was like, look at the amount of Academy Award winners who made their first film for Roger Corman.
Because he was like
Ron Howard, Francis Ford Coppola,
right.
Jonathan Demme,
It's crazy.
James Cameron. Like people where Roger Corman was like, I don't know, make a thing.
Well, but I think wouldn't it be more like, and people are experts on this sort of cinema decor, but like he'd be like, look, it's got to be a motorcycle movie.
Right.
There needs to be tits, and there has to be like a scene where a guy is thrown off an apple truck. Like he had some specific demands that he just was like, this is what the people like right now. But then he'd be like, I mean, do whatever else. I don't give a shit. You know, do whatever you want.
You want
to be weird? That's fine.
You know the guy Mike Starr plays in Ed Wood when he goes in, he's like trying to pitch him on like, this project means so much to me. I've been wearing women's dresses.
Right.
He's like, I got the poster up. It's just got to have these three things.
It's pre-sold in Alabama.
Right. Roger Corman's interesting because he's that kind of like schlockmeister, except not cynical. Sure. So first of all, what's funny about him is he's super square. He's just like this kind of like avuncular old man who's like, well, the kids
chill
like
Midwestern dude, right?
Very much like a normal guy.
He's not like some twisted master of BDSM. You know,
right. You never hear any stories about him being like a fucking like, you know.
He got like an engineering degree at Stanford. He's like,
he was like, these kids like the movies. I should try making some.
TV shows. Right.
But there was no like, oh, he was like a domineering asshole. There was nothing like salacious or, you know, anything about him.
A lot of love for
Corman.
right.
Which makes him this interesting figure. And he like knew like, I'm not trying to make art, I'm trying to make movies. But I think he had this generosity of spirit of the thing I can really provide is I'm selling, sort of pre-selling the idea of like Fighting Mad comes out of Walking Tall and Billy Jack. And these sorts of like rural Americans taking back what's theirs, like one man with one weapon standing up to the system kind of movies. So he was able to go and go like, look, here's what you need. There needs to be a kid in it. You need to pick an iconic weapon. And he needs to stand up against something. Like he'll give you the three things.
I'll give you $40,000 and everything else is up to you.
And he's also very famous.
It's almost like Chopped.
Yeah. Well, because a big part of it was, I forget what movie it was.
Like that show on Food Network.
You know, I'm aware.
Yeah, no, we got it. We got it.
They give like 3 random ingredients.
Yeah.
Griffin's sister was on Chopped.
Yeah.
Retired.
Bromley.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Remember her?
Sucking on his pen.
Yeah.
Shut up.
The pen pen's out.
But he would literally do that too, where they were like filming a movie in a castle. And like Francis Ford Coppola was doing like additional dialogue. And he's like, Francis, you know, we have 3 extra days on this castle. We're going to wrap in time. If you can write something in the next 24 hours, I'll give you those 3 extra days and you can direct whatever you want. And that's Francis Ford Coppola's first movie. There's this cool kind of like resourcefulness in that sense. I mean, sometimes it's like, here are the 3 elements I need to sell the movie. And sometimes it's, here's stuff I have left over. Here's an actor I have under contract. Here's a location I have. We built this monster for this thing, whatever it is. And that's the other thing that's interesting about him is he crosses over through a lot of different genres. They're all quote-unquote genre movies, but he's not a guy where it was like, I just make horror pictures, you know?
No, not at all.
And he would sort of follow the trends. And he was very big in sort of like pushing the counterculture to the center of the culture. One of the movies he directed is this movie called The Trip that's like the first movie about an acid trip, which was Peter Fonda's big breakout. And it was co-written by Jack Nicholson, because Jack Nicholson's another career that doesn't happen if not for Roger Corman.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Creek.
Do it with less enthusiasm, David.
Look, I'm having a great conversation right now, and I wasn't ready for an interruption, but who we got over here?
I don't know. I don't see anyone, but wait, I hear something off in the distance.
It does sound nice and soothing.
Sitting on some Brooklyn and sheets. Their thread count is oh so nice. Oh my God, David, do you know who it is?
Who is it?
It's Otis Betting.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Otis Betting. No one sings about betting.
What am I doing with my life?
Better than Otis Betting.
Hey, Otis.
And no betting is better to sing about than Brooklyn.
Oh, that's true. I mean, Brooklyn is the winner of the best online betting category at Good Housekeeping.
You want to squeeze it, tease it, got to try little Brooklyn.
Brooklyn was founded in early 2014 by a husband and wife team, Vicky and Rich Fulop. They wanted to find beautiful home essentials that don't cost.
We know them, we love them.
An arm and a leg, of course, exactly. And
Squad
so
goals.
it's a DTC company.
Name a more iconic couple. I'll wait.
They work directly with manufacturers, directly with customers, no middlemen. So it's inexpensive for the high quality of the product. It's a great service. You can mix and match over 20 plus colors and patterns. We love the Brooklynans. They're longtime friends of the show.
B-R-O-O-K, Alana. I'm sorry, I whiffed on that one.
It's okay, Otis. They're not all
Trying to
going to be winners.
respect.
Yeah, I
Which
get
people
you.
forget was originally mine.
It's a good song.
It's a great song. Thank you.
Wait,
But,
so Otis Betting is now saying hero respect?
no, I'm a different guy.
Okay, fine. All right, look, my Brooklyn sheets are the most comfortable sheets I've ever slept on. Let's get out of here.
Humble brag.
Their towels have turned my bathroom into a spa.
Oh!
I couldn't recommend them more for friends, family, or treating yourself to the upgrade you deserve. So Brooklyn.com has an exclusive offer for just our listeners. You can get 10% off and free shipping when you use promo code CHECK at brooklinen.com. Brooklyn's so confident in their product that all their sheets, comforters, and towels come with a lifetime warranty. Only way to get 10% off and free shipping is to use promo code CHECK, brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com. Promo code CHECK.
These sheets of mine.
Let me give you the Corman, slight Corman. You know, right. He starts out, he does independent stuff, right?
Yeah.
He does Machine Gun Kelly. He does, right, like AIP. I think that was
Right.
his first. Then he does
These
like...
are just like low budget movies he's making.
Yeah. He does like horror
Sometimes
movies.
he's directing them. Sometimes he's producing them.
He does a lot of horror movies. He did a lot of Poe, Edgar Allan Poe adaptations.
A lot of Vincent Price.
Then
he would sort of get like down on their luck, sort of like past glory. You know, I think he did some Bela Lugosi movies, some Karloff movies, and all of that. Yeah.
Then he did like he worked at Columbia. He had an actual contract there. He made The Wild Angels with Peter Fonda, which is a pretty famous movie. He directed that. And then after a while, he's sick of that. He goes back to indie stuff.
That's what's kind of cool is he gets his chance of their life. You've proven yourself, and he works in the studio system. He's like, this is stupid. I'm going to go back to doing things my way.
Right. And then he starts New World Pictures, which distributed all these Demme movies and many other movies.
Yeah.
And also like distributed like Cries and Whispers or, you know, some other, like I feel like, you know, Amarcord and like a lot of foreign films in the 70s. He'd buy them for cheap.
Yes.
He'd distribute them. Make some money, win an Oscar. Like, he won a lot of Oscars, like, not personally, but his company did.
Right. Sometimes something would be
thing.
a little more, legitimate and would end up with a wide release. A lot of times he was designing them as when they're literally used to be B movies. Yeah. You know, it was like the theater is selling a double feature and the main attraction is the first one. And just give me a B movie to fill out the bill.
Right.
And he could deliver those.
Right. And I feel like just as time goes on, like, his world, you know, the space for his kind of movies just gets narrower and narrower.
Home video kind of kills him, or at least his model of doing things, and then he sort of becomes a home video guy, but the movies aren't the same.
And he did like TV movies for like the Sci-Fi Channel.
That's the thing. Then it starts to become like he's doing like Megalodon versus, giant mecha octopus or whatever.
But now he's a luminary, right? Like, you know, you could get Roger Corman to come to your film festival. Right. Julie Corman, who produced Crazy Mama.
Yes.
And and of course, like you say, all these directors owe their careers to him. He got an honorary, like he's a legend.
There's the story that's really nice where Ron Howard, has been acting for like 15 years and he's 19 years old, right? And he's like the star of Happy Days, or maybe this is right after Happy Days finishes, but he really wants to direct and he goes to film school while he's like a TV star and gets a degree in directing. And no one will hire him to direct because they're like, you're fucking Opie. You're Richie Cunningham, right? I'm not going to hire you to direct something.
Right.
And he went in with like his earnest projects and pitched to Corman, who was like the last stop. And Corman was like, well, that's not the kind of movie I make. But I'll tell you something. We did some tests recently, and the title Grand Theft Auto is very popular as an idea.
Sure, just the very title.
Right. So he was like, if you can make me a picture in 10 days called Grand Theft Auto, I will give you, $300,000. You could do anything you want.
Right.
And the sweet story is that Ron Howard says that Roger Corman came up to him and he was like, you're doing really good. And he's like, wow. And he's like, you're doing so well that I think you'll never have to make a movie for me ever again.
Sure. Graduating from Roger Corman is sort of a good thing.
Right. And Howard was a guy who was sort of like there immediately. Demme's an interesting figure especially because I guess it makes a lot of sense now. Demme didn't have a film production background. You see these three movies as like experimentation, This isn't a guy who's like ready to make a feature. This is a guy who's like trying out a lot of different ideas. But that is, I think, the main thing that is compelling about Demme as a filmmaker. Is Demme always felt weirdly kind of experimental for someone who became a very mainstream filmmaker and ended up sort of being like weirdly an Oscar baity filmmaker, because his films have this like very playful sense of like, why not do this? You could do this. There's no reason a movie can't do this, you know, in terms of the ways he vacillates between tones or genres within a single movie, between visual styles, you know, or narrative structures or any of those things.
Sure.
And these three movies each feel like they contain like slices of the things he's interested in. But we've yet to get the one that's sort of unified as feeling like what a Demme movie ends up being. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Cool.
I think so. I think, well, we can talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But first, before we get to Caged Heat,
Uh-huh.
he shot one scene
Okay.
of a sex film called Naughty Wives, also known as Secrets of a Door-to-Door Salesman.
Uh-huh.
He wrote some scripts. Angels as Hard
Is
as They
that the
Come.
one?
Angels
I'm
Hard as
sorry.
They Come.
Is that the one that Coppola wrote on?
Not seeing any Coppola
Okay.
mentioned.
Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He wrote, Angels as Hard as They Come and The Hot Box. So he wrote some Corman scripts.
Right.
Caged Heat, he gets to write and direct.
Mhm.
So that's my argument would be like, Crazy Mama feels less. That one feels harder to get a handle on. Caged Heat and Fighting Mad, but Caged Heat especially. Caged Heat's weird, and like that's a movie he made.
I agree. What's interesting is
Caged Heat was easily my favorite of the three we watched.
Yes, I would say I think it's my favorite of the three, but I also think Crazy
like
Mama is the one that feels the most like a Demme movie.
Yeah, I just didn't.
And I have
like
my
Fighting
theory
Mama.
why.
I mean,
Crazy
Crazy
Mama,
Mama. I'm really
You
struggling.
have to keep these titles separate.
You didn't watch any of these, right, Benny?
No.
Yeah, great.
It feels like later movies that you're right. Yes,
Right.
that he then refines. Yeah,
Right. Okay. So let's start on Caged Heat.
Let's start on Caged Heat.
Caged Heat is like pure experimentation in like a playful way, right? Not like in like a fucking Stan Brakhage way, but it is. Here's a tired and true Corman genre. It's women in prison. At some point,
It's a classic.
someone locked onto the idea that you could always get horny men in the 70s to go see women in prison.
It's almost on the downswing by the time. Like, there's been a lot of them by
Right.
the time this comes out.
right. This is like the end of like a 5 or 6
The
year
Hot
trend.
Box. That's
Right.
that's a famous one. I've seen that movie.
Yeah.
Which Demme wrote. There's another really famous one.
But it was like someone was standing at a blackboard
Women
and they're
in
like,
Prison. I mean, it's got its own fucking. Wiki.
wait a second. If you do a women in prison movie, you can have all
Countless
the
shower
nudity in the
scenes,
world
right.
and it can get past the censors because it's not sexual. Like it was
Oh,
like they'd
right.
been like, well, before if you had 17 naked women in a movie, it had to be an orgy and then it's a porno film. And they finally like figured out this like narrative like hack where it's just like, oh, you can have dialogue that's progressing the story, quote unquote,
Right.
that's taking place while everyone is fully naked. And then it becomes this like incredibly valuable subgenre for half a decade.
I mean, that's like the shower scene, right? The group shower scene.
There,
Get a bunch of naked bodies, but, you know, it's just.
there are no less than 6 of them in this
There are
film.
a lot of them in this
There are a
movie.
lot of them in this movie. But also, the women in prison film gives you like danger,
Yeah.
right? It gives you the criminal element, the crime, the seediness that these B movies usually need to sort of satisfy. There's either, you know, you get action. Is there an escape?
There's like a man that you can rebel against. There's a lot
Right.
of rebellion elements. It's the 70s. People are like, fuck the man. So there can be like a warden who's evil and you can hate them.
Which is
like-
the other thing about it, is these movies are then able to also be like, no, but look, it's like feminist, it's empowering. You know?
Sure.
Which very often is a very hollow claim.
Sure.
And this movie feels like he's actually trying to square the circle. Like this movie feels like him being like,
I know I have to have the nudity. I know I have to have the violence. Like
Right.
I have to have, you know.
you've given me like 10 things I need to put in this movie that seem antithetical to a guy who is by and large characterized mostly for his sense of humanism, right? That's like Demme's like defining characteristic as a filmmaker. is like he really cares about people and he's interested in people. And here's a movie in which he's like trying his hardest not to reduce these women, but every 5 minutes someone needs to show their breasts. And you know, it's like the tension between that makes the movie kind of interesting, but there are also just things in the movie that are so fucking strange.
It's a weird movie.
Really weird.
Although it is, as you say, to describe it, seems pretty normal. There are some women in prison.
Right.
There's some sort of internecine warfare.
You enter
between the women.
in with like one prisoner. The movie starts with her getting caught.
Her, you know, the cops shooting her boyfriend.
Right.
And
she ends up in
she
jail.
gets caught. She's in jail.
Right. So if
she
you
gets
want
strip searched.
Right.
And then she meets like her fellow prisoners, her
Right.
bunkmate, the mean lady who sort of is a bully, like, and steals her smoke.
The sort of innocent sweetheart.
Yeah, right.
One's a bank robber. One a manslaughter and self-defense. Right.
One of them gets, you know, thrown in the solitary confinement, thrown in the frickin' slammer thingy. You know, that sucks.
Right.
In the hole.
Right.
In the shoe.
And there is like, you know, the evil doctor.
Well, okay. This is when it starts. I mean, this also feels, very exploitation movie, right? There's
But I don't want to talk about the levels of the evil doctor yet. I want to describe it as if it were a normal movie.
Sure, he's an evil doctor, and he, like, experiments on them while they're naked as well.
Well, I wasn't even going to get to that. But the point is, then the movie goes into what would seem like a plot, which is, like, they decide to escape. They need to get out of this prison because this guy's up to no good, and he's going to come for them all, right?
The doctor.
Yes.
Okay.
They decide to escape. What makes the movie weird is, in a film that's like 78 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Right. There's a lot of just hangout time with the women in prison, where it feels like there is no tension whatsoever.
There's a lot of hangout time.
Yeah.
There's multiple dream sequences that are barely relevant.
Yes.
Like where she's sort of having a fantasy of her old boyfriend
Right.
or a fantasy of escaping or being attacked or whatever.
Which I gotta say are very well shot. I mean, he does this sort of like...
This is why I like this the most.
Right. It's visually the most interesting.
It has a score by John Cale of the Velvet Underground.
Cool.
By the way, get this going. I mean, the mouth organ is half the score on all these movies.
Yes.
Which is such a classic, like, exploitation Corman movie, like, kind of thing. A lot of that. And then the other half is harmonica.
Can you do it, like, at a pretty steady clip? Like, keep on, like, hitting it? Like,
That's
what all of them sound like,
right.
yeah.
It's either that or a harmonica.
Right.
Right? Like, that's the score.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, yeah, it was just some rando. It's like, no, it's John Cale.
Yeah.
Like, a couple years removed from, I don't know, like, White Light, White Heat or whatever.
Yeah, and this movie has a level of, like, a visual interest that it doesn't need to have. Even just down to, like, the art direction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the jail is painted with pretty striking colors. The clothing choices. I mean, they all just wear their own clothes, essentially. There are, like, no prison uniforms in this movie. So it's, like, very bright and colorful for a prison film, which tend to be very monotonous. It's like
They tend to
concrete
be kind of
jumpsuits.
Right. Oh, jumpsuits.
And this is a film where, like, the walls are kind of like a periwinkle, and everyone's wearing, like, different, like, edges of 70s fashion. And the movie is just sort of like, okay, so now it's just like her acclimating herself to the prison. There'll be tension for a scene where the woman tries to, like, step up to her in the jail cell or, like, in the cafeteria or whatever it is, you know, on the yard. But it's, like, mostly just like, okay, this is just like a movie about what every day in a fantasy 70s movie prison would be like, you know?
Right.
Where all these women are ostensibly dangerous, but it doesn't feel like the place is very oppressive. But then the people at the top of the food chain come in who are cartoonishly villainous characters. Yeah. There is this
they're
evil
not
doctor.
just like the man.
Right.
Right.
And because the women in the film, the prisoners, are, like, pretty naturalistic and, like, attitude-y in their
Kinda
performances.
good.
Pretty good.
Juanita Brown, who plays the bully.
Yeah.
She's pretty striking.
She's pretty striking.
Who else have we got?
I think the lead woman's kind of the least interesting.
Erica Gavin, I believe
Right.
is her name.
And-
who
and-
is in Vixen, the famous
Okay.
Russ Meyer. Sort
Yeah.
of. Yeah, they're all pretty good. Rainbow Smith, I believe is her name, Cheryl Smith.
An incredible name.
Great
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Plays one of the sort of ingenue types. I don't know.
Yeah. They're all fine, but then the two higher-ups come in, and it's this evil doctor who is, like, full mustache twirling, like, super
Rubbing his
heightened.
hands together, like evil
Yes.
laughing.
Right,
Like that
right.
extreme. Wow.
Pretty much, or just like, we're going to have to do some experiments. Like that kind of like.
He's always smoking a pipe.
Yes, he's always got a pipe. He's
Yeah.
got like a sort of cartoonishly clean, like sort of like doctor's coat, you know?
And then the warden is played. She's called McQueen, which is
Yes.
kind of a funny. That has to be a Steve
It
McQueen
has to
joke,
be,
right?
yeah.
Played by Barbara Steele, who's like, she's from Black Sunday. She's like one of
She's
those
actually in it.
Giallo
Right.
queens,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
She's still around. She's in 8.5.
Yeah.
She's so good in this.
Yeah.
She was in fucking
Yeah, I'm looking at her career now. This is kind of crazy.
the last movie she was in
81.
was Lost River, the Ryan Gosling movie, which I never saw.
Oh,
That must
his
be-
film that he directed.
That
Yeah.
must be him being like, that must be some super fandom, like, probably more like Mario Bava super fandom.
Yeah, I think she plays the grandmother in that.
Apparently
Yes.
she's in
Yes.
Piranha. Like, she's around. She's great in this.
Lost River is very much Ryan Gosling trying to make a Mario Bava movie.
Right, that makes sense.
It's like all the things he likes about weird, expressionistic, like horror and genre films, except no one was committing him to the elements that those movies needed to sell.
Right.
Like it's just the sort of like visual shit.
Right.
Weird film.
I want to see it. Some people told me it was good.
I
know
kinda
it got
like
like booed for an hour at Cannes or whatever, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the kind of movie I wish people made more often.
Right.
Like, even if it's not great.
I like Gosling.
I do too.
I'm pro him.
Yeah.
He's good.
And I think he's a weirdo. Like, I
He is
think a lot of
weirdo.
people view the movie as, like, being very affected.
I just also like his response to being like an iconically hot and cool guy at Drive era
Yeah.
Gosling has been like, oh, no, thank you. I don't want to ever talk to the press again, and like, I'll make like movies sometime. Goodbye. You know, like he hasn't really ever tried to be cool again.
But here's what I love. I
Yeah.
also love that it doesn't feel like he's doing the thing we sometimes complain about with DiCaprio, where it's like, I need to fight against this as much as possible.
No, he
'Cause
makes
if it-
movies.
Because if it's a good part or a good role and a good project or whatever, he'll
Or
be like,
it's a character that has a Brooklyn accent.
well, I was going to say, he'll still be like, yeah, fine, I'll play the hot guy. You know, like he's not like totally adverse to playing the hot guy.
He's hot.
He's so fucking hot. Anyway, why are we talking about Ryan Gosling? Lost River, Barbara Steele.
Yeah.
She's very good in
She's
this.
good.
And she plays what seems like when she's introduced would be like a very one-dimensional, like, oh, it's like the scary headmistress as prison warden. And she's got like little owl glasses and like a very tight bun and wears like, very sharp jackets and everything. But her character is kind of like racked with introspection.
Yeah.
And like doubt about what she's doing.
This is kind of a crazy movie.
It's pretty nuts.
Because like what happens in the movie, just to summarize, because we have 3 movies to talk
Yeah.
about anyway.
But that's the first 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Then the
they're in jail.
experimentation starts, and this bad doctor starts using a ton of electroshock therapy.
Yeah, bad doctor does bad things, so they break out
Right,
successfully,
right,
but they leave one behind, right?
right. Because the threat is what he wants to do is he promises he will get prisoners out on good behavior early. He'll get them the pardon or the early release if they allow him to perform experimental lobotomy.
Right.
Which is all of him trying to like test the limits of their why am I struggling for the word now? He wants to sexually take advantage of them.
Yeah, he's a bad man.
He wants to make them submissive, not by choice. And then it's like, but you have no other options. So he's like shocking these women until they're like, anything to get me out of here. And he's like, I can cut a part of your brain out. And they're like, I guess so. No good. Very bad. Don't do it.
I was thinking of doing that. No?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Canceling
no!
those. Wait, I need to just cancel.
So yes, they've already successfully escaped at this point, and they start getting the reports from the prison cell.
Right.
Because they just escaped because they're like, this electroshock therapy shit's bad.
Yeah, they escape. But
Have you guys ever been on the lam?
have I ever been on the lam? No, no, I haven't
No?
ever been on the lam. Seems like a stressful situation.
No, I've been on a horse. Lamb's pretty hard to ride.
Yeah, they don't really move around that much.
I've been on the lamb.
They don't really gallop.
Wait.
So they escape,
Yeah.
and then they're like, look, And the escape part is the least interesting
They
part.
spend like 15 minutes just
when they're
going
just
like,
hanging out.
so we should probably do more crimes, right? That's the thing we're good at. And they go and meet up with one of their friends who had gotten out like months earlier.
Yeah.
And she's now working at like a brothel where the service is the women wrestle the men. It's like underwear wrestling without sex.
I mean,
seemingly.
again, some of this stuff just sort of, I mean, again, there's like multiple fights in the shower. Like it does feel like it's sort of like just required.
And we jumped over my
checking.
favorite sequence, which we'll get to in a second.
Get to it now.
We'll go back to it. Right. Well, I just wanted to tell about the wrestling thing. But they go into the wrestling place to meet their friend, and they just are like, this fucking loser. We're here to see our friends. Get out of here. And then it turns out the guy is a cop. And they're like, look, we just got out of prison. We're hot. We need to figure out where to go. We need to lay low. And this guy's like, fuck you. I'm a cop. Here's my badge. And they're like, okay, I guess we're going to shoot this cop. And they take out a gun. There's like a 30-second transition between them being like, hey, you need to help us. We're trying to make an honest lives for ourselves. To them being like, we're going to be cop killers. We're going to shoot this cop and leave this whorehouse, this naked wrestling place, and just get out of here. My favorite sequence is when their friend is in solitary confinement. The sort of like nicest, most innocent of the group, who is the one who is going to be lobotomized, right?
Yeah.
She starts timing out how long their shower break is.
Yeah. She counts. She's like 1,000, 2, 1,000.
Right.
Yeah.
To figure out the exact time they have between when they're brought to the showers and when they're brought out. And then she realizes that in the bathroom, one of the stalls, there's a vent which she can unscrew and go through that leads to the opening above solitary confinement. So there's this great sequence where you see her counting over and over again in the movie, and you're like, what is this? And then finally, like the fourth time, she takes a bunch of food, sneaks it from like the cafeteria, and then goes through the vent, counting second by second, knowing how much time she has, drops the food down the vent, including the grossest thing I ever seen in a movie. She drops an egg. It's funny.
You don't like eggs, though.
Because the egg immediately cracks, and then her friend is like, with my hands off the floor? And then she just starts eating egg with her hand. And then she has to like go back in time. And the second time she tries to do it, she's off on her timing. She gets caught. And that's when they put her in solitary, and she gets stuck between a rock and the hard place with the electroshocks and the potential lobotomy. So that's when they get the call. Hey, things are going real bad.
Rescue her.
Doctor's gotten even worse.
So they rescue her.
They rescue her.
Successfully.
And the movie ends.
They rescue her. There's a big shootout. The shootout kills the bad guys.
Yep.
Like one by one, it
All
kills
of
the
them.
doctor.
All of them.
And then Barbara Steele gets shot
Perfect
to death. And then they escape. The end.
It's one of those movies where they're like, okay, I think the coast is clear. Like they're doing the shootout, right? They shoot the final bad guy, and they're like, okay, good. They get in the car, the movie ends. Like as they're like closing the door to the car, the credits start.
Yeah. It's weird.
That's closure.
Yeah. And like apparently Corman hated that in Crazy Mama they also get away with it.
Uh-huh.
Like at the end of Crazy Mama they're just like, and now we run a business. And he was like, what is this?
Oh, well, I love that.
Right. So I mean that is clearly Demme kind of being like doing his own thing.
Right.
And being like, I don't know, why does it have to end with crime paying? What if they just got away with it?
Right.
That's weird.
Right. Like there's no atonement and there's no sort of punishment.
There's no atonement because they're, I mean, like, yeah.
Right.
I mean, what did they do? They committed some, okay. They
Right.
committed some crimes.
Yeah.
They did a few murders.
Yeah.
I suppose that's bad.
Right.
But like the prison guys are bad too.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's not a moralistic
It's a
movie.
fucked up system. Roll the credits.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything's bad.
I liked it though. I like all the dream sequences.
Also, the talent show sequence is incredible.
Bizarre.
There's this talent show sequence where they do a talent show seemingly like in the bathroom. So like all the stalls at the bathroom are like spray painted, and it looks like some like 90s like New York off Broadway show. And they're dressed up in drag doing like vaudeville routines. It's great. I forget all the graffiti they have on the stall doors, but there's like funny shit. Because then Crazy Mama also kind of repeats that with the Burma shave signs that you keep on seeing.
Right.
Him putting in these sort of like non sequitur text jokes visually.
Right.
So that's Caged Heat.
That's Caged Heat.
And he is going to make his next film fighting Mad, which is, as you know,
She's written.
He
wrote Caged Heat. He wrote Fightin' Mad. He's getting ready to make that.
Right, and I just want to point out the Fighting Mad Wikipedia just has like one paragraph, which is, in making the film, producer Roger Corman analyzed 3 other recent low-budget rural action thrillers that have been big hits. Billy Jack, Walkin' Tall, Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry. He deduced that they had 3 things in common: a hero with an offbeat sidekick, an unusual mode of transport, and an interesting weapon. This is why the Peter Fonda character travels on an old motorcycle with his toddler son and uses a crossbow. That last sentence is just so good.
And you know, that when I spooled it up, I was like, he's going to have a crossbow the whole film.
Yeah.
He only has a crossbow the last 10 minutes.
But you see him doing some archery training. I mean, you're getting the idea of the arrows.
He's an archer, David.
Yeah.
I know.
And he has a son.
But he doesn't get to make this movie next because what's happening? Big Bad Mama. Is that the title of the film,
I
right?
believe that Big Bad Mama, 1974, Corman joint.
Big hit. And they're like, we need some of this.
Big hit, big cast. Do you know who's in that?
Oh,
Angie Dickinson.
huge.
William Shatner.
Wow.
Post Star Trek.
Wow.
Tom Skerritt.
Yeah.
The legend,
Uh-huh.
by the way.
Yeah.
When's Skerritt bad?
I've just been watching.
Never.
I had never. This is a point of
You watching
embarrassment.
Brothers and Sisters?
No, of course not.
I'm trying to think of an obscure TV show.
I had,
You watching that Picket Fence? Picket Fences?
other than random episodes,
Okay.
I had stayed away from the post-Diane years of Cheers
Oh, sure.
because I was such a Diane loyalist, and I'm not a huge Kirstie Alley fan. I was like, I don't want to watch the Rebecca years.
Oh, you're fucked up. What do you mean? She's great on
I
Cheers.
finished Seinfeld, and I was like, fuck it. I'm going to watch the Rebecca years. I'm still not crazy about the character. I'm only in her first season.
She's awesome on Cheers. I mean, Kirstie Alley herself, I guess, she's made some bad movies.
I think Shelley Long is awesome on Cheers.
But yeah, but it doesn't have to be a competition.
It's not a competition, but I maybe the character makes more sense later. As of now, I'm not impressed, but
I think she was kind of crucial for the show, though. It kind of needed a reset.
I'm in the transition, so let's see. But Tom Skerritt is in that entire season. He's in like
he
6
shows up
episodes.
like 6 or 7 hours. Yeah.
He's Drake, her boss,
Yeah.
and he's so fucking good on the show.
He's never bad. Skerritt is never bad.
Steady hand.
He is. I fucking love him. I mean, I like recently rewatched Top Gun because the trailer for Top Gun Maverick
Your favorite movie of
got
2019.
my dick so hard. I'm so fucking basic.
I watched it with you the first time it came out, and you went like, I don't know. And then you have now watched it
I came
4
back
times
and I
a
was like,
minute.
guys, I keep watching it.
Yeah, I can't stop watching.
It's so fucking good. And I don't even love Top Gun, although on rewatch I was like, this is kind of an incredibly impressive movie, even though it's also sort of total bullshit.
It's bullshit.
It's like half horseshit, but then it's also so like insanely well made. It's sort of
Right.
the Tony Scott story, I guess.
Right.
But Skerritt, amazing in it.
Yes.
So fucking good.
Yes. That's my main takeaway. And Anthony Edwards is incredible in that one. I argue
Outrageously good.
everyone always says like, well, that's just like Tom Cruise like hitting his apex moment. The movie,
He's good.
right? But
Looks great.
that movie would have grossed half as much as it did without Anthony Edwards. The effectiveness of that performance and what he contributes to the movie,
He's fantastic.
because he's the only emotionally sincere element in the film.
Right, he's the only person who's not a fucking psycho.
Right, everyone else in the movie is a sociopath.
But I mean, but the secret of Top Gun is that it was not a huge box office hit. It was a solid box office hit. But that it was, when it was released on VHS, they priced it at $8 rather than like $40 or whatever VHSs cost. And everyone on Earth bought it on VHS.
My friend, it was a huge box office success.
No, it
I
wasn't.
understand it was also a big VHS
No,
success.
it was big.
It was a huge box office success.
Yeah, look it up.
Okay, I'm going to look it up right now. Feel free to talk about anything else you want. I'm giving you 45 seconds of runway, no pun
All
intended.
right, it was pretty big.
Yep.
Yeah, it was pretty big. Why did I think it made half this?
It's 184.
170 something.
Oh, wow, pretty massive.
Yeah, why did I think it made half that?
Because you're very wrong, and I knew what I was talking
What
about.
am I confusing it with then?
Risky Business?
Maybe. Gotta look it up.
Risky
Bottom.
Business, I think, did like 50.
Did you just say bottom?
Bottom arrow. Bottom
Oh,
knife.
he's trying to do the inverse.
Jesus. That really took me as like, bottom arrow was the first place you went?
Yeah.
Ben
Jesus.
is resting his head against the microphone in a pose I can call a man quits.
I was 100% confusing it with Risky Business.
Yeah, right?
Anyway.
Yeah. Top Gun was like the number 2 film of its
But
year.
that VHS fact is also
and then,
so much
yes,
fun.
no,
Right.
and then it also just then blew up after.
Everyone owns it on VHS.
Yes.
We owned it.
Yeah.
Did you own it?
I didn't. My family had so few VHSs.
Not a very patriotic family, it sounds like.
No.
Support the Air Force.
Jules and Jim.
That's a good movie.
Animal House.
You're cutting all of this, right?
Not keeping it all in. First Toy Story. First two Muppet movies. Space Jam. Mary Poppins. Those are the VHSs I remember as having. For how much of an insane physical media hoarder I became
I was about
later.
to say, that's how you didn't have like all Disney movies?
No, we did not. I
had like all the white clamshell.
Yeah,
you know,
I
the
cannot
Disneys.
think, and maybe I'm wrong here, I cannot think of a traditional Disney animated film that we had. We had the clamshells for the first two Muppet movies when Disney released them.
Right.
We definitely had Mary Poppins. I watched that all the
I
time.
had that.
We must have had Wizard of Oz. I can't think, though, of anything beyond that. And I feel like my parents each owned one VHS. And then Austin Powers was kind of like, that was sort of, yeah. I think we had 3 copies of Austin Powers.
A lot of copies.
David.
Yep.
Pop quiz.
Yep. Hot shot.
When it comes to the holidays, what do most people think of?
Food.
Wrong.
Family.
Wrong.
Quality time.
Wrong.
Presents.
Yup.
Boxes.
Double yup.
We all love good subscription boxes, right? You got food boxes. You got wellness boxes. You
We're
got
living in a box
boxes of
culture. It's a
awesome.
box economy. I can't get enough of these boxes.
Well, KiwiCo is the perfect holiday gift box for every young explorer, engineer, and artist in your life. You know what these
Dora.
guys? Sure, of course.
My favorite young
Go
explorer.
into the Lost City of Gold.
Yeah.
Get a KiwiCo box. You can be empowered to create, be creative, be confident, be fearless with these innovative little toys. They're very cool. They're more than toys. They're these like sort of projects for kids to work on.
Well, a lot of times these projects deal with steam. And I'm not talking about what comes out of a locomotive.
No.
I'm talking about science, technology, engineering, art, and math. You know, the good stuff.
Yeah, these boxes are designed by experts. They're tested by kids. You don't need to research them, worrying about gathering supplies or anything like that. You just
They've done
get the
that
right
work.
box for the right age. I've been giving them to my friends' kids. I don't have any kids of my own yet,
Humble
but they've
brag.
been good presents to hand out. And they give you hands-on learning and fun every month, and it's a different thing every time.
Here's a question. If you had a baby with Forky, would it be a little silver spoon?
I guess so. I mean, if the Patreon keeps up, I guess he could be a silver
okay.
spoon.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that the boxes have names, though, because they have different boxes for different ages, right?
Right.
Different interests.
Right.
And they're not just called like, oh, here's the little kids box. Here's the 7 to 8
No,
box.
you got Panda,
Man.
Koala,
Kiwi, Atlas, Doodle, Tinker, and Eureka crates.
ages 0 to 104.
Reminds me of my friends from high school. That's what my gang was.
Of course.
Eureka, Doodle,
This holiday, you can give
Panda.
you can give the gift of hands-on learning for tomorrow's makers. It's a convenient and affordable way to encourage your children to be anything they want to be.
You got to do it.
There's no commitment. You can cancel anytime. Monthly options start at $16.95 a month, including shipping. So you just go to kiwico.com/blank to get your first month free. Every day counts when it comes to making a difference, so don't miss out on this amazing opportunity. Just go to kiwico.com/blank to get your first month free. That's kiwico.com/blank. KiwiCo.
Get your holiday shopping done.
Crazy Mama.
Okay.
I was trying to find a Cloris Leachman pivot here, but I couldn't find one.
Yeah.
But Crazy Mama.
Cloris Leachman, 4 years after she has won an Academy Award.
An Oscar.
Right.
She won an Oscar.
But this is kind of
I
like
think it's just like 2 years, right? It's right after. When's the
Last Picture Show 71.
71. Yeah, so 3 years. Yeah.
3 years. Okay. It is that thing like Ben, have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood yet?
I have not.
So the thing the movie gets at, which I think is interesting, certainly of this time period, I think it's the thing the movie evokes the best, was the panic of all these people trying to figure out how to hold on to their power as a movie star. Not just an actor, not a TV star, but the holy grail is to be a movie star,
Right.
to star in pictures. And that idea of like, I would rather star in shitty movies where I get to be the lead.
Right.
Al Pacino's big scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is all about like, don't you want to win the fights? If you're on TV, you're playing the bad guy so that they can make some new up-and-comer look tough
It's a great scene when Pacino lives
by
this
beating
all out.
someone who used to be a movie
You
star.
used to be famous. You get beaten up on screen. It means the other guy's a cool guy.
right.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they're like, but you're on big shows.
Right.
But they never keep you.
Right.
They pay you well, but you're the bad guy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather go to Italy and make 4 Westerns for shitty money where you get to win the fights? And the whole movie is him being like, "Ugh, God, that seems low rent. I like the idea of being a Hollywood guy." Cloris Leachman, I don't think had the same kind of ego, but it is the same kind of thing of like, okay, here's a character actress who won an Academy Award, a very, very warranted Academy Award
Great performance.
for an incredible, unshowy performance.
Only in the Last Picture Show, made by Corman devotee
Peter Bogdanovich.
Which she's phenomenal in, but you're right. It's not like a movie where she cries and screams in the middle and you're like, oh my God, what a powerhouse performance.
No.
She plays a lady who's a little older and a little sad.
That is a movie I watch about once every 18 months. I think it's about as perfect as things get.
It's a great movie.
But I remember the first time I saw it when I was in high school, I was like, she's the one who won for this?
Right, because like Sybil Shepherd is so like big. And
Ellen Burstyn is
Ellen
like
Burstyn is incredible
unbelievable.
in it. She told you to try
Eileen
silence.
Brennan, she told me to try silence. I mean, like there's so many loud performances. It's Jeff Bridges like emerging as a fully formed movie
he's
star.
So handsome, right?
Right. And the Cloris Leachman performance, like, I didn't get when I was 15 because it's really quiet and I had not experienced the depths of loneliness and sadness that performance is evoking.
It is still though just a great Oscar win.
Oh, an amazing
It's a great Oscar win.
Oscar win. And
you know,
it's
she also the record holder for Emmys.
for wins, nominations, or
Wins.
both? Really?
Tied with, she has 8
Fuck.
Emmy wins.
8.
For acting. Yeah.
Okay, but all spread out, right? Like some guest stars, some. Did she win a bunch of times for Mary Tyler Moore?
She won at least like twice for Mary Tyler Moore. She won for a performance on The Cher Show.
Okay.
She won for a performance at the Screen Actors Guild 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
You know, like she won for
Wow.
Malcolm in the Middle a couple of times. You know, yeah, like spread out.
She
all
won
over.
for the Screen Actors Guild 50th. Wow.
Yeah, she did. I don't know. She probably came out
Right,
and
Malcolm
sang
in the Middle
the
she was
trolley
really
song.
good
Incredible
on.
on Malcolm in the Middle.
And Raising Hope, which I think
Incredible
was,
on Raising
yeah,
Hope,
an underrated show.
Very underrated.
Jinx, you owe me a raspberry coffee.
Great.
Uh,
Gross. You can keep it.
but Mary Tyler Moore starts 69.
Sure. Yeah. Why were you?
No, because I'm interested in the Cloris Leachman timeline where
70,
it's like,
I think. 70,
okay,
1970.
but she's already been on Mary
But
Tyler
she's
Moore
not
for
in
a
the
year.
early seasons. She's more a later.
She comes
season
on
person.
post-Oscar
Yeah.
win?
Yeah, she's in the later. Like, right? She's not. Jesus, now we have to delve into Mary Tyler Moore zone.
My point here is
yeah.
Cloris Leachman has already won an Oscar, right?
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
on a massive sitcom.
Mhm.
But
I guess she's always around.
the
She's
appeal of you get to be the star of a
she's always
movie,
around. Yeah.
you know, is pretty, I think, hard to pass up. So her appearing in a Corman movie, which in certain
You get to
ways
play a badass.
feels beneath her, in another way, it's like the studios are never going to give her the shot. You know, Last Picture Show didn't make her a leading lady.
Still haven't guessed that other record holder, though.
Okay, other record holder, male or
8
female?
female.
It's another female.
8 acting wins.
Still alive.
Very much so.
Very much so.
More alive than ever.
More alive than
It's
ever.
weirdly a clue.
Betty White?
No, she's very old.
It's weirdly a clue.
Yeah, I didn't mean it to be, but it is.
More alive than ever? Did she have a near-death experience?
Correct.
She did?
Sort of.
Recently?
Yeah. Yes.
Ben, do you see who it is?
No, he doesn't know. It's in my head, baby.
Would he know the near-death experience? Like, is it a
Maybe.
big enough
It was in
story
the
that Ben
news.
would know?
It was in the news. I think so.
It was in the
But
news.
when I say near-death experience, I don't mean like she almost like drove her car off
Yeah.
a bridge. Like she had a public battle with death.
An illness?
Yeah.
Oh, is it Julia Louis-Dreyfus?
That
We
makes
stand a
sense.
legend.
Who I believe has, I think it's 4 for Veep,
Yeah.
3 for Seinfeld, and then that sneaky one for old Christine.
David just
Underrated
made such
show.
a sneaky face.
I always get so annoyed when people are like, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, legend, starts her career at SNL, then there's Seinfeld,
Yeah.
and then Veep is amazing. I'm like, she did 5 seasons of a fucking fantastic network
Right.
sitcom that like no one remembers.
She hit 100
And
episodes
she won an Emmy.
and won an Emmy.
And like Wanda Sykes and Clark Gregg and all, and like
Right.
Hamish Linklater, all these funny
Yeah.
people were on it. It was great.
And it also came out of like everyone being like, it was fucking Seinfeld.
Yeah,
curse,
when she
Seinfeld
won the
curse."
Emmy, she like for that one, she was like, "Fuck the Seinfeld curse," like 'cause
Yeah.
that was still a concept.
Yes.
And now, like everyone's doing fine. She's doing fine. Seinfeld's doing fine. Jason Alexander's Nickelback videos. Oh, should I stop talking?
Michael Richards.
Michael Richards, he's
is, has his
What's
health at least.
right.
Footage not found.
Alex Fryer, who's a great comedian out of Chicago, he tweeted recently, and I had just completed my Seinfeld rewatch, and he was like, I wonder all the time what Michael Richards does on a day-to-day basis. And I have the same thought. Like, watching those episodes, I was like, it must be weird because he has pretty much not even attempted to come back. And as we've seen in recent years, like, most of the canceled men take like 4 to 6 hours before they like go like, I'm ready. I'm back.
After being publicly assassinated,
right.
I'm on my comeback tour.
Right.
Or I call you all cucks.
Or after publicly assassinating someone else, I took a timeout. After a quick 5, I'm ready to star in movies again. But Michael Richards like did 1 season of the Kirstie Alley sitcom.
Yeah.
And that arc on Curb where he plays himself and tries to like address the scandal, which I thought was the clunkiest thing Curb has ever done.
It wasn't great.
And other than that, has just like not existed for a decade now.
He's in that wild episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee,
which is
where
all,
he is so fucking crazy.
And Seinfeld trying to rehabilitate him.
And Seinfeld's like, just relax. It's all right. Like, the world's not ending.
Half that episode's scripted. Like, he keeps on pretending, like, we gotta go meet Jose Canseco.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, it's sad.
There's just a moment where Jerry Seinfeld is driving with him and he's freaking out about, Richard's just freaking out about, and Jerry Seinfeld just goes like, it's been raining on the car. And he's like, we're all just raindrops on a windshield, Michael.
Yeah.
We'll just go away.
The episode also
like,
ends with them leaving the coffee shop, and like people start like swarming Michael Richards asking for autographs, and then it like cuts to like a montage of like people coming up and laughing and taking pictures with him, and then it's like Jerry in voiceover going like, and I saw how much joy Michael brings to people. He really is a bright light in this universe. He needs to be out here. Like, it's like him trying to like character witness at a parole hearing. But even that was like first season of that show, and he just like, I'm sure he has ungodly amounts of money. The check never stops coming in. But I do wonder, especially because he is one of the guys who seemingly kind of like took his lumps and was like, I don't know, maybe I just shouldn't be in the public eye anymore. What does he do on a day-to-day basis? Is he just like really into fucking pottery now,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he makes a lot of money.
I'm just curious.
You should ask him.
I will.
Give him a call.
By the way, Michael Richards will be our guest on the Last Embrace Citizens Band episode.
No, he won't. No, he won't. Nope.
We said that at the same time.
Nope.
I'm just kidding. Of course, our guest is Harvey Weinstein. So, Crazy Mama, Cloris Leachman gets to do this film, which was supposed to be directed by...
Oh, actually, I don't know.
You don't know this.
Shirley Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Famous indie filmmaker.
Yeah, pretty outre indie filmmaker.
Yeah,
Most of her films were never
cool.
allowed to be released theatrically.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they were provocative.
Too sexy.
Too sexy.
I'm sure
So when
she'd
you
appreciate
say
being described that
indie,
way.
this is like a concept that maybe I'm not like.
She was genuinely indie. She was genuinely indie and sort of like pre-indie American cinema being a real thing. So she was very much a maverick. And she was not indie in the way that like Roger Corman was indie selling schlock to B theaters.
Right.
She was making like outre, button-pushing, provocative films independently financed that were very well regarded in like artistic communities and would get written up more for controversies than anything else. But what she was doing was more equivalent to like, in terms of how they were being absorbed and discussed, like museum installations.
Right. It's like, it's non-narrative. It's weird sounding
video
music.
art.
Yeah, it's sort of...
Right.
It's like Warhol.
She was making like feature-length films. I mean, her first big breakthrough one she got nominated for an Oscar for was about the construction of a building, right? I mean, it was sort of like the way that Andy Warhol was like, I'm just going to film the Empire State Building for 8 hours.
Skyscrapers, the name of it. Yeah.
Right.
That's like a short film.
Right.
But, she did like a short film famous. I've seen it at a museum, I believe. Dance in the Sun, right? Which is like crazy dancing and I don't know.
But she made some feature films. She made some narrative films, but she was always kind of hitting hot button things and pushing the limits. But was someone who was clearly a very skilled filmmaker. And Roger Corman was like, I'm going to let you make like a movie that will get released in theaters and make money. And without any further information I could find, they had a disagreement like 4 weeks before filming started.
Right.
And Demme's ready to do Fightin' Mad, and he goes like, can you take over this movie?
Right.
And that's what I think makes this movie kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Is because the other two, Demme is designing them from the ground up, and he's trying to make a movie that fulfills what he needs. this is a movie he inherited.
Right.
And so he directs it with a kind of sense of abandon, of just like, I don't know, what's like a fun thing I can do today?
Sure.
And the movie's a mess.
It's weird.
But there are like 27 ideas per scene.
Can I ask, what's the game of Mama?
Okay,
What's
so
like her deal?
it's a mother, a grandmother, and a daughter,
But the first scene lays out the grandmother's
which is crazy.
like origin
The first
story.
scene is like pretty austere and dramatic, which is like the grandmother's
Each
husband
of these
getting
movies kind
shot
of have
down.
the same setup.
Yes.
It's sort of like some quote unquote like rural America, right? You
Yeah.
know, in maybe not so much, but like the man fucking with some poor
mercilessly
person.
shoots down someone in cold blood.
Right. And the first one, the cops catch him and she goes to jail and they shoot her boyfriend.
Right.
The second one, like some people take their land, right? Like evil landowners.
You're talking about in Crazy Mama?
Crazy
or-
Mama.
Yeah.
Right? Like they shoot her dad,
Right.
you know, because like they haven't paid the rent or whatever.
Because
Right?
then Fighting Mad is also
Fighting Mad is the same
right.
fucking thing. Yeah.
But it's like someone losing someone very close to them who is sort of murdered by the man, you know, so to
100%.
speak, like the boot of society. And all three movies are people sort of reacting and losing their minds a little bit
Right.
in the wake of that. But Crazy Mama sets up that there's sort of like, it's almost like a family curse. Like all of these women are like doomed to continue losing the men they love,
Yeah.
be they father figures, be they romantic partners.
and then they feel a little sad.
They feel a little
They're
sad.
like, that's too bad. He was a nice guy. He was all right to me.
But the thing that makes the movie
There's a lot of that.
kind of interesting to me is that you have Cloris Leachman, who's this fucking heavyweight, right? Playing the kind of role she doesn't usually get to play. And it's, you know, she's the leading lady. She has like sexual agency, which in most movies she's the joke or the sad sack, right?
Especially as she got older, she became, right. It's sort of
Right,
like,
the wacky
the
old
horny old lady. Sort of a Betty White type.
Right, which of course, you
Betty
know.
White kind of ripped her whole fucking thing off, to be
Yes.
honest, even though they were both in Married to
Well,
Medicine.
here's what I think the difference is.
Yeah.
Betty White kind of plays the innocent. Like she doesn't
Yeah.
realize what she's saying is provocative. Cloris Leachman's like just
She was
pure
kinda that
salt.
salty old broad.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, it hits,
fucking love Cloris
hits its
Leachman.
apex in Spanglish.
Spanglish.
As
Remember, she's in
Leone's
Spanglish.
mother.
Of course.
Right. In a
Favorite movie.
SAG-nominated performance.
I believe that's correct.
And an AARP winning performance?
Yes.
Yes, for best performance ever.
Yeah, that's what they gave it.
But
They were like, best performance ever? That
Yeah.
was their reaction.
there are these scenes that are clearly written as just sort of like table setting of just like, well, that husband left me, or like this man got shot, or her father ran out, or whatever. And then Cloris Leachman will occasionally just like stare off into the middle distance.
Yep.
And in a way that's not overly dramatic, but is truly like she's just getting lost in her memory, just kind of takes stock of the life she's lived while reciting what is pretty boilerplate dialogue.
Yeah.
But it suddenly is this like emotional pocket drop thing that you're like, this is some combination of either Leachman went there and Demme didn't stop her,
Yeah.
or Demme saying, hey, what if you played this scene real? But either way, it feels like something that probably kind of affected Demme.
Yeah.
Of just like, wait a second, you can just do that? You can make a movie that's like weird and wild and then have moments of like completely genuine grounded emotion in it, which really sets the tone for like the run of Melvin and Howard, Something Wild, Married to the Mob. Because this movie has that same kind of chaotic energy that those three films
Very
have.
chaotic. Very manic.
Right.
Pixie, but not Pixie.
Right, and it's-
manic trash.
Yeah.
I guess.
But also
right?
just that it feels like a circus. You watch these movies, you watch those movies, and I love Rachel Getting Married because I think it's like a mature filmmaker trying to come back to that vibe.
Yeah.
A masterpiece. But you watch those movies and you go like, this movie looks like it was so much fun to make. And so
Yeah,
often that's
sure.
the fallacy of like, if a movie looks fun, it was difficult.
It was difficult and they were like shoestring and everything was
Right.
hard and it was hot and they
Right.
Yeah.
But like these movies, you were like, this feels like these are the performances that come out of actors who feel very safe and protected, who are having fun with each other, who feel supported by a director. The scenes are like weird little like sentence fragments. There's like so little narrative follow through on so many elements of the film that it just feels like him being like, I don't know, why don't we like do a scene like this? Like it feels like very like throw shit at the wall, see what happens. But the bulk of the movie is, you know, matriarch, daughter, grand matriarch in a car together on a crime spree. And they just decide, like, what if we just commit a ton of
They
crimes?
kind of just decide to go on a crime spree.
What if we just, like, steal cars and rob banks and shoot people? And, like, I don't know. Let's see how far it can go.
It sort of escalates. It's like they run a beauty parlor.
Yeah.
After this tragedy is visited upon their family a generation ago.
Right.
They run a beauty parlor.
That happens pre-credits, and then present day, here's
They run
the
a beauty parlor.
bad
Ann
luck of this
Souther and Linda
family.
Pearl and
Right.
Cloris Leachman. Landlord comes. Where's the rent? I don't got it.
I've been there.
Well, fuck yeah! You got to repossess the place. You're not paying the rent. So they chase the landlord, including the baby daddy of the youngest.
Right. The youngest girl is now pregnant.
She's
as
just
a
gotten
teenager.
knocked up, so she's got this like boyfriend who's all moon-eyed for her.
And it's like, here's the cycle repeating because there's like 17 years between each of the women in this film in terms of age, pretty much, right? So you're like, here's the cycle repeating. She's got this boyfriend who is literally Ralph Malph from Happy Days.
Oh boy.
Right? The dorkiest member of the Happy Days
Totally.
crew.
Sure.
and he's just like, right, he's in love with what's her pants. And so
Right, he's
but
like, oh, I gotta
so
get
they-
married now? And she's like, I'm gonna fucking marry you. And he's like, come on, what are you doing here? You're making me look stupid. And she's like, I'm young. I'm trying to have fun.
So they chase the landlord around, they ram his car and shit, and then they're just like, you know what? We got screwed over
Right.
by
Yeah.
the man
Yeah. We already
way
just-
back when.
We just
Yeah.
committed a crime.
Why
We
don't-
fucked with this guy. The
Right.
cops might be on us anyway.
Why don't we rob everything we cite so that we can like take back our original property?
Yeah.
Which is like God the fuck knows where.
Right.
And go on a crime spree.
But that's the idea is like...
That's pretty much the whole concept, right?
Right. The family's curse started
Because
at
it's
this
not
moment.
easy to follow this movie,
No,
but
at all.
that is sort of the concept.
Right. But like the family's curse started at the moment that their property was seized and the father was shot, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, we're justified. Like reparations. We can do whatever the fuck we want to get back our land is sort of the idea of the movie.
Right.
But along the way, the teenage girl meets like a biker boy who she loves, and he ends up joining them. So both her baby daddy and this biker boyfriend are there, and she keeps on oscillating between the two of them.
Yeah. I like the biker boyfriend. I think he's kind of cute.
So do you know the story about him?
No.
He is Cloris Leachman's real life son.
Huh.
He wanted to be an actor. This was pretty much his biggest role, and 8 years later, he died at the age of 30 in a YMCA from an overdose of ulcer medication, which is one of the saddest things I've ever heard.
That's serious.
That's a
Sad.
really dire combination of
That's
elements.
no good. It's not like if you took more,
Right.
your ulcer gets
It's not
so
like taking a bunch of
painful that you're
painkillers.
hot.
Right, and I think he had a young daughter from an estranged wife, and he moved to be closer to them, so that's why he was staying at the YMCA. The whole thing was bleak, but he's really good in this. And it's kind of sad
Very
that he never
charming.
got another part after this.
Brian Englund.
Brian Englund.
Englund.
So apparently the whole thing was he didn't want to, he sort of pushed away his mother because he didn't want to feel like he got success off of her back. But it's like a really, really sad story. He's really good in this, and this movie has like a 1974 throuple.
Yes, it does, and it's kind of just how it is.
Right, and there's a scene
She's kind of like, that's going to be the vibe.
where she's in bed with both
I
of them.
want both of you. Right.
And Ralph Malph is like, I can't believe I'm agreeing to this.
right. And the other guy's like, yeah, whatever.
Right.
Snake, I believe. His
But what
name is.
feels kind of progressive about it is the movie isn't like siding with Ralph Malph.
Right.
The movie's like, I don't know, whatever, we're all having fun. Robbing people.
But then, just as in Caged Heat, they get away with it.
Well, Cloris Leachman meets sort of one of her lost loves that got away.
Yeah, played by Stuart Whitman, you mean?
Yes,
Jim
who's
Bob.
excellent in this. You also, the landlord who's tracking them down at the beginning of the movie is
That's Dick Miller, right? Or no, Dick Miller's in this movie.
the detective at the
He's
end.
the detective,
right?
Who's the landlord?
Is it not Jim Backus,
Yes, it's Jim Beck.
who is literally Mr. Magoo?
Right.
Jim Backus, who is the millionaire from Gilligan's
He's the
Island.
voice of Mr. McGee.
So it's old man Jim Backus
good.
going like, "Come back here with my rent."
Also, apparently, John Milius plays a cop.
He does,
Yeah.
very
Gets
visibly.
shot,
He's one of
yeah,
the cops who's like
yeah.
in the shootout at the end.
They get away
Big
with
beard
it.
and aviator sunglasses.
That's great.
They get away with it, and then the end
There's
of
a
the
whole
movie.
Vegas sequence.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about that, where they're gambling. That part's fun.
Oh yeah,
When they keep saying the slogans.
Yeah.
Like the lady keeps saying some like sort of motto.
well, the thing that kind of does them in.
Also,
Right.
what about that lady Bernice in Caged Heat? I forgot to mention her.
Which lady is Bernice?
Remember in Caged Heat when they stick up the prison van and she's like, strangely enough, she's like, "Hi, my name's Crazy. What's your name?" And she's
Yeah.
like, "Bernice." Great scene.
Great scene. That's
Walk
a great
me through these crimes.
That's a great thing in
I don't know,
Cage
they
Heat.
stick up a
Yeah.
gas station.
One.
Cloris Leachman runs into this lost love of hers, right? And they're like, second time, this is meant to be, let's get hitched. By the way, I have a wife. And so, like, the thing that does them in is that his wife is like, where the fuck is this guy?
Right.
Try and track him down. So when the cops find him, and they're like, he married some other lady. And now also we've realized these are the people who have been, like, robbing all these things.
Right.
Oh, wait. Caged Heat is the one that has the scene where they rob a bank. They go in to rob a bank, and it turns out the bank is already being robbed.
Right.
And they're like, oh, fuck. And you can hear the sirens coming.
Right. That's when they have to shoot some cops.
Well, no. You
No?
hear the sirens coming, and they're like, fuck, we're stuck in here. We haven't even committed the crime. Someone called the cops on the previous guys committing this crime. What are we going to do? And the one woman just shoots the bank robbers.
Right.
So that they'll hear the guns, and then they just walk out with the money because the cops show up and think like, well, it's these guys who got shot. They're the bank robbers. There's like a
The logic
robbery.
of that is
It's kind of fun when you see it in the scene. It doesn't really make sense. It's a little stinker move. But Crazy Mom, yeah, the crimes, I mean, it's like a lot of like, they pretend that
people.
the old lady is the mom is having a heart attack.
That's a good scam.
Bring her to the stock room, and then they immediately stick him up. You know, I mean, it's like a lot of like environmental, but it's like kind of like petty robbery. And he's like, I only have $60. And they're like, yeah, then give us $60.
it's a lot of LSM.
LSM?
Little stinker moves.
Little stinker. A lot of LSMs.
Let's talk about the last one.
Yeah, but
Let's wrap it up
Cloris
here.
Leachman
You
has
like
this
it.
astounding amount of pathos, and
She is good.
the end of the film is them just all have wigs and change names. They've dyed their hair, I guess, and built new identities, right?
Right.
And they're working on a truck.
Right.
It's like a food truck.
Yeah, they have a little food business.
They have a little food truck, but notably, this final moment, and you assume that this is one of those things where it's just like, well, like lack of time, rush shoot, what have you. This is what he came to, but then this becomes one of his signature moves. This final sequence of them working the food truck is all first-person POV camera, which then becomes Demme's like signature, like trump card with Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
Of like the characters are looking you straight in the eye.
The Demme close-up.
So the end of the movie is a group shot of all of them looking at you and trying to serve you and be like, what do you want? How can we help you? I do love that thing about watching like weird genre movies like this, where like it makes you think about movies so much when you watch films that didn't have the time.
Have you seen Boxcar Bertha?
I have.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one.
Right, but when you're like, oh, I'm really thinking about movies because this is a movie that didn't have the time to get all the pieces they needed to make this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the third film is called Fightin' Mad.
Yeah. You just watched this.
I
film.
just watched this. I had trouble getting it. This is the one that's not available on streaming platforms.
At all.
Right.
That, as far as I can tell.
You found a torrent and the file wasn't working for me. And I finally got to work at the last possible minute.
Yeah, I was watching Hustlers, getting texts from Griffin.
Oh, how was it?
Hustlers, which by this point is out and has had, success or not success.
I
But
think it'll be successful.
I think if J-Lo doesn't get an Oscar nomination, somebody
Really?
fucked up. Genuinely. Yeah.
I'll say this. I saw the trailer the other day and I was like, wait a second. Is J-Lo going to get an Oscar nomination this year? And I got so excited at
Pretty
the
easy.
prospect that I didn't even want to put it out into the world. You think it's like a slam dunk. It should be.
I think that she's at a point in her career where it
Yeah.
seems like you could sort of make the kind of argument of like, hey, J-Lo's never been Oscar nominated.
Right.
She's enduring. She's been in great movies. She's been in bad movies, sure. But,
Yeah.
and it's just one of those movies when she's not in the movie, you're kind of like, what's J-Lo doing, though? Like, can we get back to her? Like, what's up with J-Lo? J-Lo is pretty cool, right?
But she's kind of back in like a fucking out of sight mode.
She's in
that pocket.
No, it's very. She's playing a bomb ass stripper
Yeah.
who does crimes, like and is kind of like the the hen mother, whatever, right? Like of this sort of stripper cadre.
I have not seen the film. You have. You said if she doesn't get it, someone fucked up. It's
Yeah.
STX, which has
STX.
had zero
They haven't had
success
a lot
with
of
Oscar
success.
campaigns. But my fear is that it will probably be like a McConaughey Magic Mike thing.
Yeah.
Where everyone's like, how the fuck did they not nominate her for that? But it gives her like 3 good new roles to play, and then one of them ends up being the
Maybe.
Jennifer Lopez.
Supporting actress might be. I don't know. We'll see. It's
She'd
easier
be
to break.
supporting or lead?
Oh, it's supporting. 100%.
Okay, cool.
Constance is the lead.
Yeah.
And she's fine.
Ding dong.
Okay.
Ding dong.
Who's at the door?
David, if it's who I think it is, I think you're going to stop sighing and start cheering. You're going to be very excited to see this person.
Creek.
You wearing sweatpants?
No, who is this?
No kidding, me too. It's me, Joey Pants. Joe Pantoliano, beloved character actor.
Oh, it is. We got the Duke.
Notorious sympathizer.
In a good way.
Yeah, not like a Nazi sympathizer.
Joey!
I'm saying I'm not.
We're 1 minute into an ad read.
Why? I just wanted to tell you. I saw you wearing sweatpants. I went, no kidding, me too.
Joey, it's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
You're
What
a
an
great
honor and a
actor.
privilege. Oh, thank you. Too kind. You're too kind.
Now, we've got these raggedy old sweats, your favorite pair of pants. You know, your comfortable pants you like to wear.
I'm looking at you wearing them. Honestly, I'm surprised you're wearing these out in public.
Well, usually you don't want to wear them out of
they're
the
not very
house.
becoming.
But there's a pair of pants that can do both. Be comfortable, home pants, but also you can wear them out, and they look good outside of the couch.
Wait, have you received these pants
Yes.
in the mail?
Correct. I'm talking about Public Rec's all-day, everyday pants. They eliminate the gap between style and comfort.
You got the Rex? He got the Rex! He got the Rex! Yo, I love you. You got the Rex.
Oh, boy. So
Joey pants.
they're these sweats that have waist and inseam sizing, right? So they actually fit perfectly rather than just being this like shapeless, pair of pants that you wear around the house.
Yeah.
Okay? They got the nice elastic waistband with an internal drawstring. They've got these big zipper pockets. They got 9 different colors to choose from, so you can have them for every day of the week and then some.
You got the comfort of wearing your favorite raggedy sweatpants
But you can-
or pajama pants, but you can wear these out in public.
I call them soft clothes, right? When you go home, you change into your soft clothes.
Of course you do, you goddamn soft boy.
Jeez, Joey. But
I'm
these,
just ribbing you. I love you. No kidding me
these,
too.
I can wear them everywhere. I can go run an errand in them. I can meet up with friends in them. I don't have to change.
You can wear them when you receive a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Gotham Film Awards, you know?
I hope you do.
I hope. God, it feels like I'm overdue.
As a Gotham juror, I hope you do.
Wow.
Public
kidding, me
Rec's all-day, everyday pants are the most versatile, stylish, and comfortable pants you'll ever own. And right now, they have an exclusive offer for just our listeners. Okay? Go to publicrec.com/check today to get 10% off your order automatically applied at checkout. That's publicrec, rec spelled REC.com/check for 10% off. Don't sleep on this rare opportunity to get a discount. Publicrec.com/check.
It's got the Rex! So the third film's called Fightin' Mad.
Yep.
I think this is the least interesting one.
I do too. And
It's
it's
the most
funny.
conventional.
Like, I read a Dave Kerr review of it at the time.
Yeah.
It was sort of like one of those, it sort of broke out enough that people were like, oh, this might be a filmmaker of some note.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Fightin' Mad. Ben, here's the pitch. You're shaking your head at me.
No, I'm shaking my head at the fucking president. Go.
He's the president. Respect
Show
for
a
the
little
office.
respect, please.
I mean, some people are out there calling him like, President Cheeto or whatever, but I think that's a little rude.
People tweeting garbage at him. I would never do such a thing. He's an
tweeting
honorable man.
Fuck you at him.
Yeah, disgusting. Fightin' Mad.
Kind of a, Trumpy movie now would be, right?
I was thinking, like, it's weird that
Not that
this...
it is then.
It is weird that this genre has not come back.
What is the genre?
The genre is...
It's like rural Americans being put upon, and they have to take power in their own hands.
They have to take it
like,
back.
To take it back.
I'm so glad I didn't watch these movies.
No, but it's not a bad movie.
It's not a bad movie.
And it's not certainly not a right-wing movie, because
Yeah.
it's about, like, evil coal mining
Right.
interests. Like, it's not, it's fine. When he shoots them, you're like, yeah, fuck those guys.
But even like
Evil
Billy
coal
Jack,
miners.
which is like a pretty political franchise.
Yes.
Like, wasn't viewed as sort of like toxic in its day. I think people thought it was like kind of trashy and dumb and simplistic.
Yeah.
But I don't think people were like, this movie is pushing like the fucking worst agenda. And I was like, I
I think its politics were questioned. Yeah.
But I think they were more questioned as like, this is stupid,
Yeah,
not
but-
this is a threat.
Right, but
Am I
that-
wrong? Neither of
well-
us were alive.
Neither of us were alive.
Right.
That was a time when people weren't like, is this movie it? Is this the one that's going to bring it all down? I feel like that's where we are right now, where we're just sort of
Well,
like...
no, this movie isn't it. It's It Chapter 2. Yes. No, it does feel like
every moment in culture,
We're
we're
hanging by a
like,
thread.
is the president going to tweet about it, and then that means we're like at war with China? I don't I just don't know the strings handling
anything could break
tying things
us.
together. It all seems so tenuous.
Yeah. No, it does. I was watching this, and I was
Hi,
like,
Ben.
Hi.
Because what, The Walking Tall remakes 2004, 2005?
Sounds right. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen that.
Rainforest is on fire.
Anyway, I was watching this and I was like, is there any way to make this type of movie today and not make it feel like some sort of piece of like
Probably not.
socio-political agitprop? And I don't think you can.
But like you say, this is also
Can art not be political right now?
No, it can't.
all art is political. That's
No, I
always-
mean it's genuinely.
That's
Like,
always-
you
Yeah.
can't.
All art is political. All art has always been political. Art that tries to be apolitical is being political by choosing to ignore the realities of the world we live in.
Sure.
It is the thing that drives me crazy, especially when it comes to the subject of the franchises that people act like are now being taken over by like fucking agendas when like Marvel was based around civil rights. Like Stan Lee was like the biggest fucking social justice warrior in the world.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Star
All right,
Wars is
all
about
right,
fascism.
All right.
And
Enough. We've talked about this. Cut it out. Cut it
everything
out.
is bad.
Cut it out. No. Cut that all out.
It's
Cut that out.
bad. It's
It's
so
bad.
fucking bad.
It's
I
bad.
hate the world. It's bad. It's bad. It's
So
bad.
fucking
Shut
bad.
up.
Keep it in and triple.
God, that was awful.
Okay, so Fighting Mad is about a rural man who's been living that city life with his toddler.
Okay.
But
He's
he feels
played
like
by Peter Fonda.
Peter Fonda, the recently passed,
Rip.
less recently passed by the time this episode comes out.
Who
Peter
had been in Corman's famous movie The Wild Angels, where he's
Right.
like, we want to get loaded and we want to have a good time. You know, like that's a great.
And Peter Fonda's career arc is kind of fascinating because he's the son of
Easy Rider.
one of the great movie stars ever.
Correct.
And one of those guys where it's like, man, the shadow of his dad looms so fucking large.
Right. But then in the 60s, almost as a result, and because of the movies he makes, he becomes like a counterculture
Right.
leading man.
He does his run of
His
like
dad
trying
was
to
such a
just
square-jawed, golden age
the
leading
ultimate
man.
sort of like
And Peter
innocent.
Fonda becomes the like, the
Blue-eyed.
hippie leading
Right.
man. Right.
But that's the thing. He does his like 4 or 5 years as a young actor of like appearing on TV shows and movies playing like the types of roles his father played.
Right.
And it doesn't really connect.
Right.
And meanwhile, in his personal life, he's like doing acid and like riding a motorcycle. And people are like, what's up with this scoundrel Fonda? You see, Fonda's kid, he grew his hair out another half inch.
Right.
It's past the top of his ears now.
Right.
And he kind of changes everything by choosing to embrace it rather than succumb and be like, not only am I going to not stop doing this shit in my personal life, I'm going to start making movies about it.
Right.
And Corman's the first guy who's kind of responsive to it because he recognizes that there is a cultural shift happening. A cultural shift that Corman's not keyed into at all in a way that he can relate, but he understands that Fonda has this energy of a generation that's about to take over.
Right.
And so, he gets big because whatever that first film, I'm forgetting the name now, the one you just said, the
The
biker
Wild
movie.
Angels? Yeah.
Yes. They catch George Chakiris.
Chakiris.
Peter Fonda was supposed to be a secondary character,
Right.
and
But
then
Peter
they
Fonda
realized
could ride a
And
motorcycle.
that's like a Hell's Angel movie.
exactly. They realized that Chakiris could not ride a bike and Fonda could. So they were like, cool, we don't have time to teach you to ride a bike. Chakiris, you're fired. Despite being an Academy Award winner, Fonda's kid, you're the lead of the movie now.
And then Fonda was in Easy Rider.
The Trip.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
All these
what
things.
else? Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, Open Season.
He inspires the line, I know what it's like to be dead.
Sure, he gave the Beatles
And
acid.
he said, she said. That was a thing that Peter Fonda said to Paul McCartney while tripping.
Because he'd had a near-death experience as a child. I think he had like a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Some heart thing. Anyway, doesn't matter. I will
Fascinating
say,
career, but at
you're
this
talking
point-
about politics,
yeah.
but this movie is kind of just a pastiche because it is just like Corman watching Billy Jack and being like, let's do a Billy Jack.
Right, it's one of these.
So it's not really very political, except for that rich people are bad, which
Yeah.
I mean is true in like a lot of exploitation movies.
Because
Rich
that's
people, the
that's
man.
the other
It's like the kind of almost classic conflict.
Yeah, it's either cops or it's like guys in suits who are like, we love money, and you're like,
But that's the
But it's
other
not
weird
corporation
No.
in the way that we see
it's
it.
tycoons.
It's
like,
tycoons.
you know,
thing. It's
like-
land barons.
Yes.
Right. So there's that thing which makes it kind of apolitical. And the other thing is all of the rural characters in this movie would probably be written off as liberal elites now.
Yeah, right.
You know, despite the fact that they're like living on a farm. Like
In
Fonda's
Arkansas.
got glasses and he's like, well, you know, I did my years of city living and I'm just moving back here now.
He's
and
got
it's
a
like,
kid.
right. This is like the most square of his performances from this time period, where every other movie he's playing like some kind of radical hippie. And this one he's like a dude in Oxford shirt.
I kind of like that about this.
I do
though,
too.
'cause it is sort of like, right, like, what if like the most chill fucking hippie
Right.
guy in the world was pushed too far?
He's
Right,
almost,
yeah.
it's almost a very like a much smaller scale kind of Hoffman Straw Dogs kind of thing.
Or it's like Yuli's Gold, but Yuli picks up a bow and arrow.
Right. He looks like Yu Lee in this way. He's like
bit.
the adventures of young Yu Lee.
Yuli's Gold Origins.
Yeah.
Yuli's Silver.
But yeah. And it's like the people in the town aren't depicted as stereotypes because Jonathan Demme has no interest in doing that. The land people are incredibly evil and callous.
Yeah, they're not very nice.
No. But yes, they want to develop. They're trying to kick people off their land. And if they won't sell, they will send in their thugs to suicide them.
Yeah, and they kill Scott Glenn, and
Who's his brother. He's just gotten back
who's
home,
gonna work
reconnected
with
with his
Demme again.
father. Right. And yes, they suicide Scott Glenn and his wife.
Right.
They enter the home while they're making love.
they're nude.
They attack them. She tries to fight back by burning one of the thugs' faces with an iron, which he just sports for the rest of the movie, a giant iron mark on his face. Pretty rad.
Kind of cool.
But
cool.
then they like bind them and knock them out and put them in a car and drive the car off a cliff.
Yeah,
And
that's a
Peter
cool
Fonda's
sequence.
like, my brother and
he totally did not kill himself or have a car accident. Yeah.
and they were like, well,
The
I don't know
cops
what
are
you're
like,
talking
this looks
about.
pretty case closed to me.
And he was like, I went to his house. The iron was on. Like, she was like cooking dinner. Why would they in the middle of that leave and go drunk driving as you claim? And he's like, I don't know, but they did. And he's like, well, my sister-in-law was allergic to alcohol. And the guy's like, well, malarkey. And Peter Fonda realizes, oh, nothing's going to get done about this. And not only that, this guy's going to circle in. He's going to go after every remaining plot of land, including what my father owned. And I just got away from big city living because I thought I wanted to be where the air is pure and the grass is green. But in fact, this whole country is rotten.
So he kills him with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, that's pretty much the movie.
That's kind of the problem. Is the back half is just not. I was expecting a long rampage.
Yeah.
and it takes forever,
forever.
to get to it in
then
a
he
movie
pretty
that's
much-
like 88 minutes
Right,
long. It's not like
stakes
it's like
out
a long
a house, and it's like a lot of the movie is just him trying to like load the arrow.
Yeah. And then like when he finally
crossbow.
wails on him and arrows them,
Yeah,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
yeah,
And they have that cool like house that they're in with like a
Right.
pool.
right,
Fuck those guys.
right. He gets
Glad they got arrowed.
he gets hurt pretty
He
badly,
gets
and
shot.
you're like, oh man, is he gonna die? And then the movie just
The movie ends with him being loaded into an ambulance and yeah.
Right, but then it just
And it's
flashes
like-
forward to him walking through the field with his son, and the credits roll, and it's like, oh, I guess it got better.
They're all kind
got
of
his
that
land
same
back.
vibe.
Yeah, they're all the same vibe, but they're
I'm kind of glad we made him put them together because
Thank
they're
God.
So fighting mad,
Mhm.
he's mad, and he's not going to stand for it anymore. He's going to fight back.
He's not fighting calmly. You know what I'm saying? He's
Uh-huh.
fighting mad.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning of our Demme miniseries.
Yeah.
It's
He's
a
going
little
to like file
sloppy.
some paperwork.
It's
Just like-
no, pretty
He's an
fair.
interesting director.
Yes.
We're gonna go all over the map with this fucking guy. We're gonna
Right.
have all kinds of actors to talk about, all
Yes.
kinds of genres, all kinds of eras in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He's done everything.
Yeah.
Except for I guess like, a fucking Marvel movie, but like, he did everything.
Yeah.
He really did. I guess he never made like a balls to the wall action movie.
But there's
That's about it.
There's a little bit of him like the Ang Lee thing where like all of his films feel either personal or very much marked by his specific sort of technical flourishes and stylistic signatures and all of that. But he was a guy where you look at this filmography and you're like, this feels like a guy who could have worked in the 40s.
Yes.
Because he just adapted to whatever the thing was.
It's true. And yet, I mean, the conundrum we're going to solve with him or like think
Yeah.
about is like partly what made him so iconic given the fact that he adapted and did all this stuff.
right.
And apart from, like how is he an influence on two of the biggest filmmakers of today?
That's the thing. Barry Jenkins and Paul
Jenkins
Thomas
and-
Anderson both kind of said him as like, yeah, he was sort of the guy.
He was like PTA is very upfront, dedicates movies to him, right?
Yeah.
Like Barry Jenkins, I mean, the close-ups, like the looking down the camera, like there's so much you
Right.
can obviously, and he talks about it too.
Right.
And then, I guess the Demme close-up is sort of a... And then also he basically invented an entire genre, which is the concert movie.
Right.
He invented that.
with what?
Stop making,
Stop making sense. I mean, obviously, concert movies
No,
existed
that's
before then.
the big suit movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
talking heads.
Yeah, you're gonna
But,
fucking love it.
He kind of turns it into it's like you didn't just shoot a concert
Right.
outside.
It becomes like a
it
movie.
becomes something more thematic.
Yeah.
So it's
Last
fascinating.
Waltz had already happened at that point.
No, yeah, of course.
But
There's
yeah,
been
whatever.
Woodstock
Yeah,
and the Last
right,
Waltz, and
right.
But you know what I mean, though?
Yes.
Where it's like
Stop Making Sense is kind of its own beast, and it's one of the
kinda
first
like half
concert
directed
movies.
by David Byrne.
It's got like really interesting stylistic choices.
Love that.
It's a masterpiece, and we'll talk about it. We're not going to talk about most of the documentaries because he made too many fucking things.
Yeah, I might watch some of them. We'll see.
Yeah, I might try to find time. But this is a long filmography. We're going to cover a lot of different things. I do think what you're saying, though, the arc is fascinating because these do not feel like 3 films from a man who will direct one of the most dominant Oscar films of all time. And not only that, the most unconventional dominant Oscar film
100%.
of all time. Right. But then after that, he enters a period of kind of being the most kind of like classical, prestige-y, Oscar baity kind of guy, at least in how his films play. Even if they do have their own integrity, you know?
Right.
And then he's sort of in the wilderness for the better part of the 2000s. But he comes from like trash to then being like the top of the heap.
Trash to top to back to middle.
Yeah.
And then always making interesting
But like
stuff.
big budget studio middle.
Yeah.
It's a weird filmography, and we're going to get into it because you picked it.
Now, this is the one where we're not going to play conventional box office game because I just can't find data that far back.
Okay.
And also, these movies barely had conventional releases. But,
Yeah.
come on. Let's play, like, year box office
Yeah, let's do
games.
it. Okay.
1974.
1974.
Give me the top 5 movies of 1974. Number 1, iconic comedy.
Blazing Saddles?
Correct.
Yeah.
$119 million.
Huge.
Number 2, giant action epic.
Giant action epic.
Yeah, but like modern, contemporary. Sort of invents a genre.
Sort of invents a genre. It's not
Famous for its billing.
It's Towering Inferno?
Yes.
Yeah.
Invents the disaster movie, kind of.
Yeah.
116. So those were the 2.
Okay.
All right, now the third, and this is one reason I wanted to do 1974 first. It's kind of like a revenge movie. We were just talking about it.
Billy Jack?
Which one?
Is it the... Fuck. I'm trying to remember the other titles. Is one of them Billy Jack Goes to Washington?
Maybe.
But this isn't that. Fuck. I don't know. What is it? It's
Trial of Billy Jack.
I'm sorry. There is no Billy Jack Goes to Washington. That's the one I was thinking of.
$89 million. The third highest grossing film. I mean,
Huge.
really, obviously Billy Jack is like a joke you make now.
Right.
About like a weird, like uncool pop culture thing.
Yeah.
But like huge.
Huge.
Totally forgot.
And also like total outsider art. Like a man who was outside of the industry. It's like he had the same career path as like Neil Breen, except the movies were like massive.
If you look at this fucking top 10,
Yeah.
I really sometimes want to slap people in the face when they talk about how movies are over now. This is a terrible top 10 movies of the year. And there are so many incredible movies that came out in 1974, just as there are now. But they're just not in the top fucking 10. Number 4 is a masterpiece. This is not that. This is another comedy masterpiece.
This is another comedy masterpiece?
I mean, 2 movies in the same year.
In 74?
Think about it.
It's Young Frankenstein.
Right. I mean, that's just unimpeachable. He made both those movies in 1 year.
Same
Young Frankenstein
year.
and Blazing
Crazy.
Saddles.
Gene Wilder gave both those performances in the same
arguably
year.
his 2 best movies. Maybe inarguably?
Yeah.
Right.
I kind of think
That's just crazy. But then number 5 is another shitty disaster movie.
Is it an airport?
Nope. That's there, but Airport 1975 is number 7.
Wow. Shitty disaster movie. Give me a general type of location.
The ground.
It is is it earthquake?
Earthquake.
Okay.
And then like Godfather 2 is 6.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. But then like Airport 1975, Life and Times of Grizzly Adams, The Longest Yard, Murder on the Albert Finney Orient Express.
Which is a great movie.
It's a good movie.
I love that movie.
I love Albert Finney in that movie. It's not my favorite movie.
I love that movie. Lumet ruled.
I love Lumet. Lumet has made a lot of movies, as you know.
I agree. And a lot of them aren't good, but that one is one of the
Finney's
really
incredible.
great ones.
The end is so boring.
The end rules.
Herbie Rides Again, Benji, Freebie and the Bean. Like, it's like, there was a lot of shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of garbage here.
You know, and then you go down, you're like, oh, like, here's some good
The
stuff.
Conversation.
Yeah,
Not
Conversation,
a big
like,
hit.
31.
Yeah.
Surf Sugarland Express, 29. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Gone with the Wind, 25. That's so funny to think about.
That's the
Just
widescreen
every year,
re-release.
every would just.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Okay.
like Chinatown came out that year. Thunderbolt,
Okay.
but Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Wow. So let's do top 3 from the other 2 years.
Wow, you in a rush?
Oh, okay, fine. Let's do top 5.
You don't want to do 5?
Stretch out.
Yeah, geez, we're doing
Make
great.
yourself comfy, Ben. How long is
Just
this
hit 2
episode?
hours.
Okay.
Jesus,
I'm just
1975.
saying things have changed when we go, oh, don't worry. We just hit 2
Yeah, all
hours.
right. You're right.
We got time to spare.
Wait, come on, we're almost done. Come on,
Okay.
1975, number 1.
1975, number 1 be Jaws.
Yes. Number 2, Best
Change
Picture.
everything. Number 2 for 75 is Best.
Yeah, Jaws 260.
Right.
And the next one makes 108, which is a lot of money
Yes.
for the time.
Yes.
Best
Tons.
Picture, 1975.
Tons. I mean, this is still an era where your number 1 film probably hasn't made $100 million.
Right.
There are less than 15 movies that have ever made $100 million. Okay, so number 2 is still a huge hit. It's 108. Give me the genre.
Best Picture winner.
Oh, fuck. But still, give me the genre. That's not a genre, my friend.
Drama?
Pretty straight?
I guess so. How do you describe this? It's
It's a.
kind of a prison movie, but it's not set in prison.
Well, now I don't know.
Well,
Like
what was your hint going to be?
adaptation.
It is an adaptation of a book.
It's an adaptation of a book. It's kind of a prison movie, but not really. It's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Correct.
Huge hit.
Number 3, I mean, this is kind of crazy that this is number 3. Kind of like a sex dramedy, but like highbrow with a big star.
Highbrow, sex dramedy.
Highbrow, like, geez, I just can't stop getting laid movie. Boy, oh boy. It sure is tough to be hot and get laid.
It's not carnal knowledge.
No, that, I mean, sort of that vibe.
But sort of that vibe.
It's a little less dramatic than
the
that.
big star is the male?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's a hottie. I can't deny it.
He's a hottie. It's not a Redford, is it?
No. More dangerous.
More dangerous. It's not McQueen.
No. Less dangerous.
Less dangerous.
I'd say McQueen kind of is a guy where you're like, this guy could punch me in the face right now.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. Less dangerous. But in between the two, he can't stop getting laid. It's not
Stop fucking.
Alfie.
No, but it's sort of like an American
Right.
Californian Alfie.
Right. I'm trying to think through.
He has
He's shrugging.
the name of the movie is a product.
Oh, Shampoo.
Shampoo.
Was the third highest
crazy?
grossing film of
That's
its
crazy.
year.
That's crazy.
That's nuts. A great movie by a great filmmaker.
49 though. So again, a big drop off from
Sure.
108.
But that's still crazy.
All right, 4
Beatty,
4
man.
is a prison movie. Not prison movie. Fuck. It's like a kind of a crime movie. It's like a bank robbery movie.
Four's like a.
It's a great movie.
Four's
Great
Like
big performance.
what like one like very famous big
Performance. Although a lot of good performances
Right.
in it.
Is it like an Oscar-winning performance or it's just like an iconic performance?
He didn't win an Oscar, some maybe outrageously, although he was up against Jack.
He was up against Jack.
Jack wins the Oscar.
Right, for the lead Oscar. He didn't win.
He wins an Oscar way later for a bad movie.
He wins it way later. Is it Cool Hand Luke?
No.
But is it Paul Newman?
No.
Oh, it's Pacino for Dog Day.
And then number 5 is a sequel comedy.
Let me ask you, if you could go back in time, would you give the Oscar that year to Jack or Al? I'd give it to Al.
Only one way to find out.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Ladies and gentlemen, he has cracked his knuckles. He has stretched his arms.
You asked me the question.
The
I'm
spreadsheet
giving you an
is
answer.
being opened.
I gave it to Jack.
Wow.
You want to hear the 5?
Yeah.
Ryan O'Neal for Barry Lyndon.
Uh-huh.
Richard Dreyfuss for Jaws. Al Pacino for Dog Day Afternoon. Warren Beatty for Shampoo. And Jack's the winner.
Wait a second. I'm just trying to process Richard Dreyfuss for Jaws.
Yeah, he's my boy.
I hadn't even thought about him as lead, though.
I think I snuck Shaw into supporting.
Well, he did get the supporting nomination, right?
No, he didn't get a nomination, which is outrageous.
Shaw was not nominated for Jaws?
It's outrageous.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I'll double check.
I would have bet the house on that, and I think this might be similar to your Top Gun prediction. I think
You might be right. I don't know. I
wrong
can check it
about.
out. I thought Jaws kind of got snubbed.
It didn't get director.
Yeah, no
'cause that's
no
the
acting
famous.
nomination.
Really?
4 noms total.
See, yeah, I would say Shaw is supporting. I would say that Dreyfuss is supporting, and I would say that Scheider is lead.
No, Scheider was. I mean, Dreyfuss was nominated for a lead BAFTA. He's a lead.
I think he's.
It's 3 fucking roles.
I know, it's a good movie.
It's a great movie of rules.
Can I throw out a hot
It's
take?
about a shark.
Can I throw a hot take?
Eats people.
Jaws is pretty good. No, but can I?
I think I gave it to Jack. It is one of those the movie
Yeah.
is no good without him, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, Milos though.
I'm a little surprised. I think I also have given Pacino several wins already at that point. Maybe I'm sort of like spreading the love. I don't know.
I think that's the best one.
It's pretty good.
It's also one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Number 5, come on, comedy sequel.
Number 5 is a comedy sequel, so that's not a very frequent occurrence at this point in time.
Yeah.
It's a comedy sequel. Is it like character or circumstance that they're sequelizing?
He's a character. This guy?
This guy's a character? Let me ask you, is the character iconic
But the character's
enough?
name is not in the title.
But is the character iconic enough that I would know the character by name?
Yeah.
Is it A Shot in the Dark? It's a Pink Panther?
Which one?
It's not The Trail. It's not The Curse.
No.
It's not Return.
It is Return.
Return of the Pink Panther.
Return of the Pink Panther. Now, 1976.
Yeah.
And then we're done.
Okay.
Number 1, Best Picture. Iconic movie. Huge. Rules. So fucking good.
Why am I forgetting what wins Best Picture in 1976?
I mean, it wins it over better movies, but who cares? It still rules. People shit on it, but they shouldn't because it fucking rules.
Fuck.
I'd love to do an episode on
Fuck.
it. We're never going to do a miniseries.
I'm
on it,
into the
right?
fact that people shit
No,
on
but
it.
we could do a franchise. That's a good franchise.
Oh,
It's
the
a good
film is Rocky.
franchise. Rocky!
The film is Rocky, and we should probably do that franchise at some
It'd be
point.
pretty fun.
It'd be pretty fun.
I haven't seen any of the Creed movies, which is like
What?
a bummer. I know.
You should watch
I
Creed
know, I know,
tonight.
I know, I know.
That movie is the most watchable movie ever made.
And
gotta get on
well, also look, we might have another reason to talk about a couple of the Rocky movies if March Madness shakes out in some of the crazy ways it could.
Now, number 2, you may or may not know this, is an IMAX movie that was a documentary.
Are you joking?
No, it's like
I
a
couldn't tell if this
weird.
was one
It's
of
like
those
a weird
things
box office anomaly. It was the highest grossing documentary of all time before Fahrenheit 9/11.
Weird. And it's from 1975?
Six. It mostly played at like this National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C.
IMAX documentary.
But it was like such a big deal that it was technically the second highest grossing movie of the year.
I wonder though if that's them retroactively saying it's the second highest
grossing. It
grossing
makes it clear
film.
1976 gross, so I don't think so.
Weird.
Yeah. Because just like I said, like on that early one, Gone with the Wind was listed as making $10 million that year.
Is the title of
It's a
the
great
film
title.
like the subject, or is it creative? in
Yeah,
any
it's
way?
like what it's about.
It's an announcement.
Yeah, it is an exclamation point. Love those.
It's not like This Is Cinerama.
No.
It sort of feels like it's pointing.
It's not That's Entertainment.
No, I mean,
I'm trying to think of titles
these are
that are
good
exclamations.
guesses.
I know
Can I
they're
give it
not
to you?
right. Yeah.
To Fly.
I never knew that existed.
To Fly.
It's a documentary that shows you
You have
It's
to
about
point.
flying.
You have to point.
David is
with it.
pointing
I believe that
toward the
the poster
sky.
is like a hot air balloon.
Wow.
It's about like the history of flight.
I did not know this movie
But
existed.
even if you were reading about it, you'd be like, "What do you want to see a movie? Maybe we should go see To Fly."
and once again, Ben's doing the physical bit. They're pointing at the sky and looking up toward
Now,
the
the 3 others are big movies of the
Okay.
era. All of them are particularly good in my
To
opinion, but they were all big hits.
To Fly.
One is a giant remake that just got remade again.
Star is Born?
Right.
Streisand? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Chris Christopherson, underrated. Terrible movie, though.
Yeah, terrible movie.
Number 4 is a movie that it's been remade again. It was also made for the stage recently.
Whoa. And so it was not a stage play originally. Got
No.
adapted.
Recently.
Fuck. I'm trying to think of the ones.
Recently.
I know. Is it Network?
No.
Okay, but that was a good guess.
No.
Because that is the same year, is it not?
Yeah, Network was the 19th highest grossing film of the year.
What a great movie. So wait.
Good movie.
What, 1976. There's another 76 movie. David's what stroking? Why is he pointing at us?
Maybe you two saw this stage production.
Oh, it's the Jessica Lange, Dino De Laurentiis King Kong.
King Kong! The one where he's on the Twin Towers. And Jeff Bridges is in it, I believe.
There's that line, yes. Jeff Bridges and Charles
It's
Grodin.
the one where they built like a giant puppet.
Animatronic.
And then it didn't work, so it's mostly just a guy in a suit, right?
Right. I believe Rick Baker is also playing King Kong for most of that movie in a costume.
I
like that poster, yeah.
Where he's on both towers.
Yeah.
He's not just on one building now.
Do you know what's like the meanest thing that critics say?
What?
when they're discussing a new King Kong project and they say, like, every generation gets the King Kong they deserve. That's really disrespectful to at least 3 or 4 different
disrespectful
generations.
to basically every generation.
Yeah.
And like the only one that got a good one was the one where it came out like during the Great Depression.
Right, and the movie's kind of racist.
Yeah. They're all kind of racist.
Yeah.
Was the stage play racist? Did they squeeze that in?
No.
They had 10 minutes of racism in there?
No, but the stage plays trained so hard.
Yeah, they did have a slow character.
Oh,
He's not slow, he's lumpy.
Okay. All right.
And by that I mean his name is Lumpy.
Yeah. Number 5.
I will say Ann Darrow in the King Kong musical is played by an African American woman who was absent the night that we saw it, so we did not see that. But I have heard that lends some interesting subtext to the performance.
Yeah, it's not because it's usually this blonde ingenue.
Right.
And
Anyway.
part of Jackson's problem is he's way too fucking slavish to the original. Like he just wants to.
Except it's a great movie and it should have won Best Picture. The Year of Crash?
There are other movies. I mean, yeah, if I'm picking between those two, sure.
I can't think of another one. No, I mean, genuinely, my number one film that year is New World, but I thought King Kong should have been the consensus Best Picture winner.
Insane. We should do next year. Fuck it. Let's do next year.
Fuck it. Let's
do.
Don't bleep out both of those things.
Finally, it's a comedy. Okay. Iconic comedy duo.
Is it a Pryor Wilder?
Yeah.
You know they used to sell Pryor and Wilder as? Wild and Wilder.
There you go.
Richard's Wild. Gene is Wilder. It's not the first one?
I don't fucking remember.
Silver Street?
It's Silver Street.
Okay, so that's the first one.
1976.
Stir Crazy is the one that's huge.
Yeah, right. But it did really well. $51 million.
Silver Street's a boring movie. And
it's the one that's on a train, right?
It's pretty much just a like C-grade Hitchcock ripoff. And whatchamacallit, Richard Pryor is in like 3 scenes. And it's very clear that they hired him and he was really funny and they were like, fuck, we got to put a couple more Richard Pryor scenes
It's like
in here.
the movie with Eddie Murphy where he's in a tank.
Best Defense?
Yeah, right. Where they're like, shit, this guy's huge. We got to get him in this much of this movie.
But it was like, they were like, oh, fuck, this chemistry is really good. And then they made like 3 more movies that are actually about the two of them. But you watch Silver Streak and it's like a Gene Wilder, Jill Clayburgh, like mystery film that's pretty dry. And then has one scene where Gene Wilder does blackface at Richard Pryor's encouragement.
Great. All right. I'm going to delete the Stuber box office page. We're done.
Delete it.
No, not to, like,
it never exists. You've removed Stuber from the timeline?
All right. I don't like this. In 4th place with 5% Truth About Podcast. It was doomed.
Oh.
In 3rd place, Silence of the Cast.
Oh, no.
In 2nd place, my personal fave, with 32%, Married to the Pod. Which means that they have chosen as number 1, with 37%, to stop making podcasts. Outrageous. What do you think?
I mean...
I like it.
I guess we got to do it.
We don't have to do it.
I guess we got to do it.
Ange, I will say, is really hyped up about Married to the Pod. If Ange is like a super delegate, you know?
We got a day left, so next episode we'll know for sure.
Right.
Give it some time.
You will already know because you will have listened to this episode. And there will be artwork.
Oh, yeah.
Unless we want to keep it a secret.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks to Ange Fergudo for our social media, Liam Montgomery for our theme song, Pat Reynolds and Joe Bowen for our artwork. Go to blankiesoutright.com for some real nerdy shit. TeePublic for some real nerdy shirts. You can head over to Patreon for Blank Check special features where we're getting pretty close to being done with Marvel. Finally. We're in the end game now. We're not up to end game, but we're in the end game. Towards end game. And tune in next week for our last double feature because we just got to get through these early ones. Last Embrace and Citizens Band.
That's right.
And then after that, we're on to the real kind of gold.
Hell yeah.
And as always, David's buying steelbooks now.
I'm kind of pumped.